Do what?
Introduce each other because
Yeah.
none of us don't
Yeah,
know
that'd be
each
cool.
other.
Now let's just go around the table. Sam, you want to start?
Me? Why
No.
me?
Just go
Ladies
there,
first.
I'm picking on you. That's actually a good idea.
Okay.
Miss
Oh,
Regina.
I love your curly hair.
Thank you. I'm Regina. I'm currently studying to take the exam.
Oh, Missouri or just or Kansas?
Missouri, but I might do both.
I do both. Get it out of
Do
the way.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
She
it out of the way.
told me the rules about some timeline with that, so I need
Oh,
to
really?
brush up on that.
Okay.
I thought.
Yeah, I just know that's better.
They're orange.
But-
Forgot.
my job currently, I'm a NICU nurse.
Oh,
So I actually work tonight. I work nights.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
love that, but
Okay.
that's where I'm at. I'm at Lakewood now, but I worked forever at St. Louis. And then I worked from home for a while, and then went back to the bedside, so.
Well, this is a good way to start out, to
Yeah.
get some good, solid understanding going forward, so.
Well, thank you for the
Yeah.
presentation.
I'm
Yeah.
Shannon Woods, I'm her sister. I'm currently already in sales. I do roofing, guttering, siding, windows, private fencing, kinda all that. I love it, but I do really well and I want something to piggyback and grow myself even bigger than what I am. And I have so many customers that are always like, using a real estate, or I'm actually fixing their house to get it sold, so why not be the real estate agent too? So
Oh, you'd be a
that's
good
why I
base to
decided
start.
to do this. But I have not, took the test yet. My goal is to have it done, I was gonna do the end of the year, but if I have it done by February, I'll be good with that. Because I don't work really a lot in the winter, like, I have like 4 jobs going on right now, but, that's not like normally we have a lot. It just slows down. You can't really build when it's snowing, so.
Good time to get that licensing done.
Right, yeah, that's why I figured just get it done, and once the weather clears up, we hit the ground running with it.
It's awesome.
My name's Audrey. My last name is Mars. Felicia's my mom, and we talked about this for a long time. I am currently an office manager at a wholesale building products company, so I see a lot of builders, a lot of like residential, commercial stuff. I like that aspect of it, but I would definitely rather be in sales and have my own schedule, and we talked about it for a long time. So I just got my license in Kansas this week, in Missouri a few months ago. So yeah.
Awesome.
for you.
Welcome.
I'm Karen Craig. I've been a realtor for quite some time, and Felicia and I have been friends for a long time as well. We worked at Remax together. So
Are you still doing that?
I know.
Oh.
Good seeing you, by the way. How are you? Hi.
Good seeing you.
I'm Amy Belcher. I've been with EXP 3 years, KW before, and I've been in for a while.
Hot minute, right?
Did you already make? You're with the XP now?
Soon.
Oh, so you're currently with Remax,
No, I'm not at Remax.
oh,
Yes, sir. Your turn.
Yeah, I'm Lim Coleman. I met Felicia at a Habitat for Humanity thing we were doing here recently.
I was there too.
You were there?
Yeah, I was there. I was the cop girl.
I don't know. We were on one team and they just kind of split us up. So,
That's kind of dangerous to admit, being a
Well, they made fun of me a lot.
been in real estate since 2016. I used to be a platinum, and I've been with EXP since 2022.
Woo.
So,
Cool.
coming up on 4 years here.
Thanks for driving over, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Samuel.
My name's Samuel Coro. I'm licensed in both Kansas, Missouri. Been agent for a couple years, and before just kind of like investing here and there. And I used to be with United Real Estate, and like 6 months ago I switched,
All right.
and I'm part of the team and love it.
Yeah. Been getting some stuff going in the back and share.
I am Jerry Long, and I work for Felicia. I am not an agent. I am married to one and surrounded by many. So I understand you're crazy.
It was pretty
Well-
integral part of our group.
Well, and I'm hoping today too that you see a lot of the gaps and systems that need to be put in place. So that's my.
I'm Melanie Weaver. I am friends with Felicia.
We used to work with Remax.
Yeah. Used to work with Karen, and I think I know a lot of you in here, but not everybody. But I think we've met as we come in. I've been used to be with Remax. I've been with EXP since March of 2024.
Sorry, I turned it down.
Believe it.
So
I did.
that's about it for me.
Cool. So I'm Jeff, and I've been in business, I was telling Lynn, May makes 30 years. Still here to live and talk about it, right? So I made it to the kind of the backside of things, but our background is, again, 30 years. We've run a top team in the country. Used to own a bunch of KW franchises that we sold in 2018. I came to EXP about 6 or 7 months after that. We just took some kind of downtime, figured out what we wanted to do, and we found EXP and fell in love. We've been here since, and absolutely love it. So my wife's Kathy. She wanted to be here, but she double booked a couple things. So she's the other half of the team. We have a transaction team, and then we also have a buyer's agent on the team as well. We've done about 3,000 deals in our time doing real estate. So we've seen a lot, and now really what our passion is just really paying it forward and giving back, right? So that I was telling Lim, right? Is that how you say it, Lim? I was telling Lim earlier that in those 30 years, and my wife doesn't let me say this, but I'm gonna say it since she's not here. She's also been doing it 30 years. She just doesn't like saying it. She's like, that it ages me, right? It ages me. But we've both been doing it, and in that time, we both feel blessed to still be here, because some of you may know already, or you'll come to discover that there's a lot of turnover in real estate. It's about 85% of agents don't make it past 2 or 3 years. And we have come to believe that's simply because they don't have guidance and anybody actually cares about them and spends the time pouring back into them. So we try to do that. That's really our passion now, that we're kind of on that back end and really settled in well at this point, is to come back and travel and hit our different spots. So we've got a group here, we've got your group kind of on the west side of KC, we've got St. Louis, we've got Missouri, we've got Springfield, we've got Gulf Shores, we've got San Antonio, we've got Tulsa, we've got, we're getting ready to open up Orlando. So we're kind of spreading our footprint, and we love to do that. So we'll pop in, right? We're going to be west side soon, like 2 or 3 weeks.
We're gonna have someone in Dallas pretty soon.
Good. We'll have to piggyback with the people that we've got coming on board so they can meet. But that'd be great. That's awesome. So thanks for coming here today. This is the 2026 Business Planning Clinic, helping agents use real estate sales to fund their life mission. That's what we believe it's about. Again, a lot of times we've seen people and they really tend to preach volume, like how much do you sell or how much do you make? And that's kind of where a lot of the awards are in our industry. That's cool and all. It's fun to get them. But again, for us, we found that our retention and ability to keep you guys around with us is more about finding out, honestly, just what's important to you, right? And then as long as we help you fix that and find that, whatever it is, you're going to stick around. So we're helping you live the life you want to live. Some people are just looking to supplement their income, but they need to know they've got support when they need it. Other people are looking to build a 7-figure business. Great, we've run a 7-figure business. If that's what you want to know, we've been there too. So we can take you all the way through that journey and help you kind of figure out some of the gaps. And what Kathy and I like to say is, if we don't know it ourselves, odds are with our tenure in the business, we know the people that do. And we can just hook up a phone call. So lean on us. That is my cell phone. That's also a good email for me. If you want to reach out, send me a text, do anything, anytime. Take advantage of it, okay? So let's talk about this. Zig Ziglar said this. He's one of my favorites in the world about motivation. When you look at the possibilities instead of the problems, the future is filled with endless opportunities. When you look at the possibilities instead of the problems, what do you think people tend to look at most often?
Problem.
They look at the problems, right? They look at the challenges, they look at the hardships. They're not looking to the backside of what it is. So think about that today. I want you to open up your mind. I want you to allow yourself to think big, maybe bigger than you ever have. Because in this business, anything really is possible. That's one of the reasons we love it. It's very low barrier of entry, but there's no limit on where it can go for you. If you're a master at it, you literally can build it into 7 or even 8 figures a year if that's what you want to go to. But if not, there's a lot of ways in the middle there, right? So open yourself up. Don't think about maybe what your life has been up to this point. Think about what you want out of this life. If you could script it again. The way I start a lot of my seminars like this is I ask people, who in here has children? Anybody? Okay, who in here has been a child? Anybody? Okay. So, what I'm still recovering from trauma. What I ask them is, what do we tell our kids they can be when they grow up?
Anything they want to.
Anything you want to be, right? You can be president of the United States, right? All that stuff. We tell them all this stuff. Well, somewhere along the way, maybe it's when we're in our teens or our 20s or whatever, we either have a teacher or a relationship or an employer or something that gets in our headspace And for some reason, we start to doubt that still exists for us. Do you guys agree with that? Maybe you guys don't, but most people have that. And they start to buy into this, like, nah, I guess I'm not meant to be X or Y, all right? The reality is you can be, and especially within this business, you can reinvent yourself. We've reinvented ourselves several times within those 30 years. Sometimes we had to get up and leave our city and move away just to start over again. But when you understand where it is that you want to go, any road bumps along the way are just that. They're just a road bump. They're not a reason to stop. So I want you all to think about really where you want to go. If you could script a perfect world, what would it look like for you? No judgment, as small or as big as it is from us. Okay, but what would perfect look like for you? And then start to believe in that, start to take ownership of that, and start to get to the point where when you close your eyes, you can smell it, you can hear it, you can taste it, right? You can literally be in that moment and feel that. Because there will be days in this business, if you haven't been in it very long, where you just want to just kind of throw yourself out a window. I'm going to be quite frank, right? There are days where a closing falls through the day of closing. And you're like, what on earth just happened? I needed that check. I needed that $4,000 or $5,000. That's when people that don't own their future get out of the business. Okay? If you do own your future, that's just a moment. It's just a little moment in time. It's no big deal. You're on to next. Okay? So get really clear on that. We do a class on helping create that vision. If you ever see it, keep your eye out for it. Because some people don't really know, and we need to kind of work through that process and start to open some of that up. And then put the emotional teeth to it, right? Again, like I'm saying, can you taste it? Can you feel it? Can you smell it? Can you really be in that moment? Because when you take complete emotional and you get this emotional attachment to the long-term outcome versus the short-term attachment's the outcome if somebody says no. That kind of sucks, right? But that's a short-term outcome. So many people are attached to that outcome that it shuts them down when they hear it. But if you're attached to the long-term outcome of where you're taking this thing, there's literally no stopping you. Every opportunity is just a learning moment. So here's what we're going to do today. If we do groups, we probably won't, so we're pretty small. We can just keep this pretty conversational today. You're here on time. Let's limit side conversations. Please vibrate your cell phones or whatever. If you need to take a call, I get it. If you got to do business, we're in the business of doing business. If you need to take a call, take a call. Get comfortable, respect time, respect each other, and let's just help each other out. So here's what our goals are for today. We want to identify your big why, like we talked about just now a little bit, your big attachment, your 1 year, your 5 year, and your someday goals. We want to be able to build backwards from that. We want to power you up using, we're going to talk about 2026, I need to edit that, 2026 GPS, which you'll see what that is in a minute. And we're going to commit to this idea of growth and possibilities. Okay, everybody good with that so far? Awesome. So, don't worry about this. I want to get us through all this stuff. We kind of introduced ourselves, small group. That was pretty easy, right? What are some common beliefs, limiting beliefs that stop people from taking action? Have you ever heard this or ever thought this? And you don't have to raise your hand, right? But I'm not good enough. I see that a lot when we do one-on-one coaching. There's this limiting belief that they're just simply not good enough to excel and grow, okay? It's usually inadequate self-doubt. People with that mindset don't think they're skilled, smart, capable, talented, whatever it is. I will tell you, some of the most successful agents I know personally, honestly, they aren't that smart. What has helped them in some of that, and I'm not being mean, I would say it to their face, the ones I know, because I love them. They're not naturally brilliant, high IQ type people. What they are is they don't allow themselves to get in their own way. They allow themselves to take action and get in a feedback loop. And they then take that feedback of whatever happened and they do something with it. They're implementers, they're executors. Does that make sense? It's not about brilliance, it's not about intelligence, it's about willingness, and a lot of times, willingness to do the step that you need to do next. So don't worry about this, because through the action is where skill gets developed.
Are you talking about me?
I was trying not to look at you.
Figured it out.
But so that's one of them. So just get rid of that right now if you have that, because it's really about action. It's not about bringing a skill set. Some people also believe success just simply isn't for them. They believe it's reserved for a select few. And again, it's really not. Real estate is equal opportunity, unequal reward. That's it. Equal opportunity. Everybody in here in this business has the same opportunity to go as big as you want to go. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry in this area, right? To make a high six-figure income, you really only need like 0.001% of the business. You don't need, it's not a highly competitive shut you down market. Like to get to say 15 or 20 million in production, which is a good mid six-figure income, like 400 or 500K a year. Think about the multi-billion market you're in. I mean, it is a massive, massive market. You're not in competition with us, because even if you get that 15 million mark, there's another like 5.8 billion for you to go after, right? So understand it's not reserved for the select few, it's reserved for those that take action, that are willing to go out there and try, and be willing to kind of fail forward, right? Take it as a lesson and move forward through it. This is a big one. I'll fail, so there's no point in even trying. They don't even take the shot, right? You can't do that. So again, we're thinking big today. They don't have enough time or resources. This happens a lot of times. Again, people believe in the idea that you have to have money to make money, or they're in the idea that they're trying to balance and make a career switch, and it is hard. That's hard. I started out that way. I was young. I just had the energy to do 2 jobs at once, right? But at the same time, it can be a reality. So you just got to understand, if you're doing kind of this dual career transition, you're going to be out of balance for a little while. That's what it is. And you've got to have that, again, reason why you're doing this, to be out of balance. Because if you're willing to do that and take the action, I guarantee you by about the 6th month, 7th month, 8th month of doing it, tops, you're going to have to make a decision between careers. You're going to have to. Because you're going to build your pipeline enough that you're not able to service the stuff coming in through the funnel, okay? And that's where you're going to say, am I just going to start referring leads out and have somebody else work it and give them a big piece of the pie, which is okay, or am I going to grab it and say, this is my opportunity to go for it and establish this new career? And not only career, but something I heard you say, is it Shannon, right? Is it Shannon? This is something that you will completely control and own. It's your opportunity to build a business of your own, that you're completely in control of the destiny of it, right? So again, taking the action, you'll have a decision to make at some point, is where you spend that time, where you spend your energy, and what's best for you and your family. Some people have this, they believe they don't deserve it. That again goes back to backstories, traumas, anything we've had in the past. So why and when do you think we bought into this BS? We need to address mindset before we do anything today. So why and when do you think we bought into this through our lives?
Some trauma, let's say,
Yeah.
childhood or something.
Yeah, salespeople I've trained that have failed, that I was there helping them sell everything, and the only thing they sold was what I was there helping them with, was always from them coming from some type of, there was like some type of trauma in their life that beat them down to make them not have the confidence they need at the door, so they never could feel like they could get a yes, ever. I mean, and if I was there, they could remember everything. They would sell it just like I would sell it, but I always had to be there for some reason for them to say what they were saying then, but couldn't do it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's fascinating, really, right?
Yeah,
To watch
just
it.
like
Yeah.
you just
I think
keep
there's
doing this.
an element too of like older generations like will frequently say you have to work hard for anything that you want, and not that you don't have to work hard, but like money doesn't grow on trees, or like that life is like, if you want this big thing, it's not going to, like, it might not be worth the, I don't know how, I can't
Struggle,
find my words.
sacrifice.
But yeah, that would
whatever.
be a huge
Yeah.
struggle and sacrifice, maybe a huge risk, and like try to just stay
Yeah,
safe.
like
But-
my mom used to tell me that college was such a waste, and I did 4 years of college or whatever, and she always told me, why are you going, why are you going, why are you going, and then now she just rubs it in like, oh, see, why did you go, but it really did help me.
Yeah. And sometimes teaching you stick-to-itiveness to do something
Yeah,
and
I
get
just
through
kept
something.
saying, I'm
Right.
not listening, I'm not listening.
I think you're right. So I think our parents and their parents came from a different generational
Yes.
perspective.
Yeah.
Stability, security, still some of that depression stuff left over, war stuff left over, right? I think a lot of these things happen. And then other people just go through different things, loss, family loss, illness, different things that happen, job losses that are traumatic. And they feel like they're starting over, and a lot of times, and they beat themselves down. And then they also think, well, I don't have the money, or I don't know very many people. You have to be a good talker in real estate and all these things. And again, you really don't. You just have to find, one thing we spend a lot of energy on in our group is doing behavioral assessments with our group and helping them identify their key 3 or 4 areas that they're going to excel in naturally, instead of the old just rote things that are taught, which is low-hanging fruit, FSBOs, expireds, cold calls, door knocking, open houses. That's not for everybody. Like I've got one guy I used to coach down out of the Gulf Shore areas. He didn't honestly like people at all. He didn't want to talk to anybody. But he was so good at building systems that he created an online lead generating machine and did 120 deals a year And he never talked to people. He did it all, bing, 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 right? And the people would come in and have a showing agent go show it. And he did 120 deals a year. That was back in the days of Craigslist. He was just cranking out about 100 Craigslist ads a day, and then having them go into his contact management system doing follow-up campaigns, right? So there really is a path for almost anybody to succeed within the real estate industry, no matter what your natural style is. We just need to get in tune with it and build up the systems around it. But yeah, they have these beliefs about it because of the stuff that go in it. And we already went through this. The question is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And get really clear on who you are, because you have the chance every day to wake up and reinvent who you are. You have the chance to wake up every day with that perspective and say, I've been this, right? Or I've produced this, and I'm ready to have a breakthrough now and change it. So the secret of every successful person is massive clarity. That's it. If you listen to anybody, you listen to Bashar, you listen to Tony Robbins, you listen to any of these great Jim Rohn, any of these guys, the really one thing it boils down to is massive clarity. They know 100% what they want and expect out of life. Do they necessarily know how they're going to get there? No, they don't. Not when they start. But they know what they want. And so they're curious enough about it to find the models that exist to get them what they want in life. That's it. They're good modelers of others' behavior. I mean, even if you go back and you read some of Tony Robbins' early stuff, we don't think about this anymore because he's been around so long. He started out, he was a janitor, lived in a one-bedroom apartment. How he started his whole journey was he just started calling up and knocking on doors of people with over $1 million and asking them if they'd let him interview him. That's where it all started. He started asking them questions, figuring out what they do, how they think, how they wake up, what actions they do, and from there he built this multi-billion-dollar empire as a thought leader, right? So you can come from anything and build it, but you need to know what you want, and more importantly, you know why you want it. I had a buyer's agent on my team about 15 years ago probably. Great dude, love him to this day. But he lacked this. He lacked this. It took us probably a year and a half to get this figured out for him. Because he'd always tell me every year, hey, I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make $100,000 a year. That was kind of his benchmark. I want to make $100,000 a year as a buyer's agent. Like, no problem. Let's do it, right? Let's make it happen. And every year he'd stop at about 70 or 75 every year, like 3 years in a row. And one day we're driving we had a listing appointment about 40 miles away, and we were driving up to do this farm listing appointment. And I just kind of asked him, like, every year I notice you kind of stop just a little bit short. What's going on with that? Why do you always say you want $100,000, but you never push to $100,000? And he said, honestly, I tell you $100,000 because I think it's a cool sounding number, and I think you'll like that number. Like, oh wow, that's a big aha, right? He's trying to please me as his team lead.
And he's just hoping he does make that.
And he's not
He's just
really,
like,
he's
yeah,
not
it'd be
purposeful.
cool if I do.
He's not purposeful about it. And I said, well, you seem to hit the same number. Why is that? Like every year you're hitting the same number. He said, honestly, it's because that's where my family life gets comfortable. Like that gives me enough time to still have time to be with the kids, to give his wife was occupational therapist, to where she can only work 3 to 4 days a week instead of all 5. We can balance our schedule. He had 4 kids, one of them was sick, right? And he's like, that's just really kind of where we really need to be. I'm like, then just tell me that, dude. Like, then, because if I want or need $100,000 on my buyer's agent team, I don't need to make you do it. I just need to go get somebody to supplement, right? It's just about communication and figuring out where you want to be. Once that pressure was off of him, he did great, right? He just settled in and he's hit his 75, 80, whatever. And then the next year after that, he went out on his own and did 50 units by himself. Right, that was $150,000 that next year. So, but he just had to get comfortable with who he was and where he was and how he wanted to run his business. So it's really amazing when you get that clarity how things start to come together. So understand this equation right here. And what it is MR equals MC times MA. It's my little equation, but all it really means is massive results equals massive clarity times massive action. That's it. If you get rid of the M, same thing, results equals clarity times action. If you have low clarity and low action, you're going to get low results. Medium's medium, right? But if you really want to make a change and make an impact on yourself, on your family, on your legacy, it's got to be massive. You can have massive clarity, but without the action, you're not going to get jack. You can have massive action, but if you don't know what it is, you're going to get watered down and not have the results. Does that make sense? It really takes both of those to get to where you want to go with your game plan. So it only happens when you connect to that why, your reason, your purpose. When you connect to it in three ways. The first thing is, why do you want it? Then, do you believe it's possible? Why do you want what you want? And then second, do you believe it's possible? And third, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to do the work? Those are the three things. It's not rocket surgery, as they say, right? It really isn't. Why do you want it? Do you believe it's possible? So I was watching a video clip probably 8 or 9 months ago that really struck me, and it was, I don't remember who it was, one of these, guys like Brennan Bouchard or whatever, one of these kind of thought leaders. And he was on the streets, and he was talking to this kid who was 16 or 17 on the street, and he said, "Hey kid, what do you want to do with your life?" And he said, "I want to be a pro hockey player." I'm like, wow, that's like the 1% of 1%, right, to go to that level. And the guy's like, "Oh, cool. Why do you want it?" And he said, "Because I'm passionate about the sport. I absolutely love it. I eat, bleed, breathe, sleep it. Like, this is my life is hockey." And I said, "Okay, cool. Do you truly believe it's possible?" And what was really interesting is the kid stopped for a second. He didn't just blurt out something. He sat there for a little bit. And you could see his just the gerbil running, right? And he said, "Yeah, I really think it's possible." Right? So you've got to have those two things. Don't lie to yourself. Do you think it's possible? And the thing that I've found to really make you know whether or not it's possible is, again, there are models that are out there. Success has left clues for you, right? It's already there. You just have to find it and understand the motivation. So has anybody in here been to conferences of any sort, like big conferences where they have panels on a stage, right? And they're interviewing all these high achievers? Have you been there and done that?
Yeah.
So I was in my early 20s, and I've always been a little bit of a learning junkie. And I was in my early 20s in real estate, going to all these conferences. I see these amazing producers on stage that are doing 500, 600, 1,000 deals a year, or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, I want that. That's amazing. But then also I would leave, and I'm like, I'm not like them. I would beat myself up. I'm like, why am I only doing 50 deals? They're doing 1,000. I'll never get to whatever the number, right? And I really beat myself up that, but it was fascinating. And a couple years after that, I got to know some of those people that were doing those kind of deals. And when we got to talking, they were just as human and fallible as I was. Does that make sense? When you're first sitting there and you're watching these panelists, or you're watching somebody like Tony Robbins or whatever it is, you see who they've grown into. All of them to this day still fight demons. All of them to this day still struggle with issues they have internally. They've just figured out a way to push through those different demons. Almost all of them have humble beginnings. Very few of them started out as rock stars. So when you start to see that, you're like, okay, well, they've proved it's possible to go from nothing to something. They've proved within this industry you don't have to be a rocket scientist. They've proved within this industry you don't have to have major connections, right? So the more you surround yourself and go to events like this or on bigger scale, get to know those people. The fascinating thing is a lot of people don't approach them at conferences, but if you do, most of them are incredibly receptive and open. It's fascinating. They'll sit there, they'll grab coffee with you, they'll grab lunch with you. Would you agree, Karen? Like when you go to these big meetings, it's amazing. I don't care the company. I mean, ours is the best. But when you're at these events, it's amazing how accessible these people really are and how much they'll share and how much they'll talk to you about it. And when you have those opportunities, like, I get it. I see that. I can do that. I believe I can do that. So you've got to find a way to tap into that and really believe you can get whatever you want. Henry Ford says it best: if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So this piggybacks what we've been saying. Did you know you really started a career in modeling? You're not in real estate, you're really in modeling now. That's really what it is. You're in a modeling career when you start real estate. And all that really means that you're going to study these patterns. All this stuff that we're going to talk about today, from the pure nuts and bolts of it, is proven practices and strategies. Okay? That's what you want to start with in your business, is understanding the behaviors, understanding the actions, understanding the lead generation strategies, all of these things, and just duplicate it. Don't walk out of here. My biggest encouragement for you today is, do not walk out of here and walk through that door and have that door be a filter that kind of sucks all this out of you, and you start saying, that was pretty cool, but I'm going to do it my way, okay? Your way is going to be okay, but master the basics first and then plus it, okay? Then add your flair to it, okay? Success leaves clues, so does failure. I understand people have lived before us. So this is what I'm saying. You want to build a stable business, which triangle looks more stable? The one on the left, right? We're building a foundation of stability, proven practices, and systems. Then we'll get creative. Then you have the time and money and resources to test things. What you can't do in the beginning is be over here and try to be creative first. If you do that, that's where a lot of those 85% that aren't here, that's where they get stuck. Either they don't have guidance to begin with, and so they fail through just not having direction, or they outsmart themselves. And they go to things like this, and they say, well, that was a cool idea, that was a neat marketing plan, or that was a neat script, or that was a neat this, but I'm gonna do it my way, or I'm gonna make it better. And they haven't mastered the main way that we know works to begin with, okay? So get to where you master the basics first, and then we're gonna add the creativity on top of it. This is what your path is gonna look like. You're constantly going to be fighting kind of this model versus natural ability, so just be prepared for it. Everybody's gonna have a different level of ceiling they're gonna hit off your own natural style. You're gonna start out with this kind of natural energy and enthusiasm and entrepreneurial spirit and all these fun things where you've got this excitement going about it, right? But at some point, that natural ability, you're gonna hit a wall. You're gonna hit a wall of productivity, time management, skills, whatever it is. And if you aren't careful, you're gonna bounce against that wall. I did that for about 3 years and I questioned what I was doing. For about 3 years in a row in 2000, 2001, I was hitting 70 to 80 deals every year. I could not figure out what was going on. I was stuck, I was frustrated. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Whatever it was, I was starting to look around. And then what I realized was I needed to, if I was gonna keep doing this, I had to break through that ceiling. And that's when I re-engaged. I hadn't been in coaching for 4 or 5 years. I re-engaged with a coach. And the coach really helped me analyze and figure out where I was stuck, right? And what models were off, what needed to be tweaked, what systems needed to be implemented, where I spent my money, right or wrong. And then that allowed me to go through a breakthrough. But ultimately, I got hit again. And you're gonna hit a ceiling again. So you're gonna get to this point in this journey, if you're a person that's learning based and action based, where you're gonna go through this constantly, you're gonna constantly be hitting different ceilings, okay? What happens is over your journey, you're gonna get better at recognizing when they're about to happen though, so it doesn't freak you out. What I tell people now is I pretty much live on the edge, good, bad, or otherwise, I live on the edge of a breakdown or a breakthrough. And you've got a choice to make on that, right? But what happens is when you get there and you start feeling like maybe you're gonna break down and just curl up in a ball, I'm just being real with y'all, right? When you get to this moment where you feel like maybe you're gonna have a breakdown, you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're whatever, and sometimes that's in a good way, don't get me wrong, like you're doing lots of deals, you got a lot of plates spinning. That's when, if you look at it properly, the right perspective, you realize, yeah, I feel like I'm about to have a breakdown, but if I understand and I revisit this, I'm really on the edge of a breakthrough, another opportunity to bust to that next level. Usually that means surrounding myself either with another person that can help me go to the next level, or just a different system being in place that creates efficiencies. But when you do that, you're always gonna hit them, okay? So just be prepared to start to recognize them and understand everybody does it if they're trying to grow. That's just part of the deal. Some people hit that ceiling at 1 or 2 deals a month. Some people hit it at 5 or 6 deals a month when they're a solo agent. But understand there's no right or wrong answer to that. And don't allow that to beat you up and say, well, gosh, Brian over there is doing 50 deals a year as a solo agent. Or Jared, whatever Jared does, 70, 80 deals a year as a solo agent, 100 deals a year. Why am I not doing that? Why am I feeling burnt out at 20 deals? Who cares? When you're there, let's hop on a call. Let's talk about it, okay? And let's figure out what it is and what tweak we need to make, because it's usually just 1 or 2 little tweaks, okay? So don't beat yourself up. That's a natural part of the process. Newton says it great. I love this. And he says, if I've seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. So again, we're modeling the behavior of people that are already there, right? What have they done? How do I get there? Think about your end in mind. This goes back to that clarity. What do you want? Do you know what you want? Start there and let's build backwards. Because we've got the systems and the models to take you all the way to about $3 million a year in income, okay? Beyond that, we'd have to make some phone calls. But we personally have those models to get you to about $3 million a year in income. Then we just stair step backwards to where you are at today. Are you at 0? Are you at 50,000, 100,000, $250,000 in your volume? Where are you at in your income? And let's add on these layers or pull away some layers. I had one lady making, when I first started working with her, she was bringing in $480,000 a year in revenue. She was netting $67,000. That's horrible. That's horrible return. That's a 15% net on her work, right? we had to move some pieces around, and within no time, you're doing 150, 200,000 net, and she has life balance. So understand, big goals, once you get really clear on what you want, you can strive for the production, you can push them for the numbers, but we also need to understand how we're getting there, how we're servicing people, what our systems are, where our money's coming. And as long as you have big goals, they're gonna pull you through the smaller ones. If you want a new car, great. If you're shooting for a new house, you'll probably be able to afford a new car. If you're shooting for retirement, if you're shooting for $1 million, if you're shooting for $5 million, you're gonna get all the things along the way. However, if you're not already a big thinker right now, and this is new for you to kind of open up the possibilities, it's okay to start with smaller ones, right? There are some times when we work with people that they're honestly shifting and they're in more of a survival mode, and they can't think that big, that far. They need to think about how to pay their mortgage next month, how to pay groceries, how to get the kids' tuition paid for. That's fine too. Let me know if that's where you're at, and we'll talk about more specific, like how do I get now money today? We can talk about that, okay? But ultimately, I want you to look at climbing this mountain of really what you want your life to look like. So you don't have sheets like this. Do you have paper? Does everybody have paper? I want you to draw this kind of X on your paper. So you're gonna have 4 squares on your paper. You're gonna, if you have 4, the bigger your sheet, the better. Sam, you're gonna be struggling now. But the bigger your sheet, the better, okay? Because we're gonna do a lot of writing on this. If you don't have the room to do it on this, carry it over to another page. But really take the whole page, if you got a whole page, and dissect it like that, okay? What I want you to write, put on your thinking cap, put on your dreaming cap, put on your big life cap here. I want you to imagine that 5 years from now, we're sitting here and we're back here, we're hanging out, having chili, all right, having a good conversation.
Chili's good.
It was good chili. I like that chili. I'm digging the chili. So as we get that, I want you to ask yourself, what would have to happen? What one thing would have to happen in your life 5 years from now for you to say to me, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, my life is absolutely amazing? Just one thing. What one thing has to happen for you within 5 years to say to me, Jeff, you would not believe it, my life is amazing? I want you to write it down in that very top left. At the top of the top left, okay? We don't have a whiteboard, do we? Jerry, is there a whiteboard anywhere?
Here's a flip chart.
That'll be fine. I'll give you some example, but you're gonna write that up here, okay? Basically right under this area. You're just gonna write that simply out there. What one thing has to happen in your life? Where you say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, my life is absolutely amazing. Need some help?
It's heavy, just awkward.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome, thank you so much.
You might have to. Okay.
This isn't like dry erase flip chart.
Yeah.
That's
It's just
wild.
certain things back here that,
Okay.
so you should
Cool,
get-
so you've got this, right? You got your paper like this. So up here, what's your one thing that has to happen? Okay. Everybody have their one thing written down? All right, so right underneath that, I want you to define it. I want you to get really, really clear, right underneath it, exactly what it looks like. So a lot of times, and I'm not telling you what to write, I'm just saying a lot of times people up here will say, for example, I want financial freedom. That's just an example, okay? All right, great, financial freedom. That's vague. I want you to give clarity, that big C word we've been talking about, clarity. What does that mean? What does financial freedom, for example, mean? Does it mean debt-free? If so, how much debt do you have? Does it mean a certain income level? Does it mean a certain amount of money in the bank? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, get specific, because unless we're specific, we can't put a clear picture and an attachment to it. It's too vague. So whatever you wrote down for your first thing, as general as it may be, I want you to define it underneath it. Get as specific as you can with what that one thing really is. Does that make sense? Define it. So what one thing has to happen so for you to say your life is absolutely amazing in 5 years? What does it exactly look like? And then below that, I want you to write, why is that important to you? Why is it important that that one thing makes such a big impact on you? So what one thing has to happen to you in the next 5 years to make your life amazing? What's it look like specifically and clearly? And why is that thing happening so important to you? Okay. All right. So now what I want you to do underneath that, I want you to actually feel that it's actually happened. How does it make you feel? Knowing that this one thing has happened, how do you feel? That you've achieved this number one thing that has to happen in your life in 5 years, so your life is amazing. You've got clarity on what it looks like. You've written down why it's important to you. Now, how does it make you feel having that in your life? Okay, everybody got that one? Okay. All right, so how was that? Was that easy enough? You come up with it? You got it? All right. So we're back 5 years from now, right? And you say, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it. My life is amazing. This happened in my life. This one thing. Here's what it looked like exactly. Here's what it was. This is why it was so important to me that it happened. And having done that now, this is how I feel about it. Right? This is how it's made me feel. Let me ask you, what second thing has to happen for you to say your life is absolutely amazing, off the charts? What second thing has to happen that could plus that? Same process. After you write that, define it, get clear. Move beyond the headline. What does it really look like to you? Coming for you, Sam. Here. I heard about all your NYC antics. All right, so what second thing has to happen? And get clarity on it. Define it. What exactly does it look like? And why is having accomplished that so important? What does having accomplished that do for you? And then knowing you accomplished that, how does it make you feel? Okay, so it's 5 years from now. All right, you said, Jeff, you wouldn't believe it. My life is amazing. This one thing's happened to me. Here's what it looks like. Here's why this is so important to me. This is how it makes me feel. And believe it or not, Jeff, the second thing happened. Here's what that looks like. Here's why it's important to me, how it makes me feel. What's the third thing? See a pattern
I'm
here?
already feeling good with this.
What's the
This
third
happened,
thing?
I'm done.
Keep going. Push yourself. Push yourself. We're going big today. Push yourself. What third thing has to happen for you to say, Jeff, you would not believe it. My life is amazing off the charts.
You're not gonna ask for the fourth, right?
I'm gonna keep going, bro. You see a pattern? What third thing has to happen? Define it. Why is it important? How does it make you feel? Not saying you guys are having issues, but usually number 3 and number 4 are a little bit harder than number 1 was. So I want you to dig, I want you to find, I want you to think about it. It can be anything. What third thing has to happen? What exactly does it look like? Why is that important to you? And knowing you've accomplished that, how does it make you feel? Or that you have that in your life, whatever that is. Then if you finish number 3, move on to number 4. You wouldn't believe how amazing my life is. Number 1's happened, number 2's happened, number 3 has happened, and this 4th incredible thing has happened in my life. What is it? Define it. Get clear. Why is it important to you? How does it make you feel? Is everybody on number 4 at this point? Yep. did you specifically pick this mug for me?
What's his
I
name?
dug all the way to the back to find it
Yeah.
specifically for you. I did.
Perfectly, flawless, right? Yeah,
I thought you'd appreciate
I'm
it.
good, thank you. I love it because it's got all the little bumps in it and everything.
Uh-huh.
So number 4. So Jeff, you wouldn't believe it, man, it's been 5 years. This amazing thing has happened in my life. This one thing happened. Here's what it looks like. Here's why it's important to me. Here's how it makes me feel. Then the second really amazing thing happened to me, right? This is what it looked like. This is why it's important to me. This is how it makes me feel. And believe it or not, a third thing has happened in these 5 years. This is what it looks like. This is why it's important to me. And this is how it makes me feel. And finally, this fourth thing has happened. And it looks like this. This is why that's important to me. And this is how it makes me feel. Okay? There's more to this exercise, but I want to just ask you right now from the process so far, how are you doing? What was your discovery as you went through 1, 2, 3, and 4? Did you notice anything?
That every time I got that, I, had accomplished what I thought I needed, that there were still things that I could do, that I could continue to even, bring it for other people once I've reached those goals and I've done everything, that I can share that knowledge with people.
Yeah, so you found, not to put words in your mouth, but this is kind of my experience with this, is I find that number 1 a lot of times tends to be surface level. It's what's on top of mind. It's usually some type of achievement, personal achievement.
Where it really wants to be in your
Right,
mind.
so we're right there, and that's what's there, and that's maybe more present today thinking about it. As we go through this, it becomes less about maybe some of that, and it goes a little bit deeper in 3 and 4 because you're digging for more that's just not right here, right? And you're coming down to whatever it is. Maybe it's giving back, to others, helping them achieve, succeed. Maybe it's more about family. Maybe it's about health. Maybe it's about whatever else it is, relationships. It's something, and it goes to a different level here. So what I want you to do right now is, without thinking, don't overthink this part, okay? Whatever you do, don't overthink this part. I want you to take your pen, and I want you to go through the whole sheet. Just go, before you start doing it, go through the whole sheet, and any word that jumps out at you, I don't care if it's the same word 1 time or 10 times, if a word jumps out at you, bam, recognize it, circle it, and move on. Don't hover, don't read and think, just scan your pages, and if words jump out at you, circle the words that jump out at you. This is rapid fire. Just go through, I don't care if you circle 5 words or 50 words. If they jump out at you, circle them. All right. Who wants to share some of their words with me? Who's comfortable sharing?
I'll share.
Okay.
Freedom, bless others, purpose, God-given talents.
Very cool. Ms. Jerry, you had your hand up.
Either free or freedom came up 6 times.
Okay. Anybody else have words they want to share?
Invest, grow, retirement, satisfied, debt, family, goals, and powerful.
Powerful. Is that the last one you said?
It's the very last thing I did on the
No.
board.
You want to share yours?
Passive income, time, fitness life, health, friends, family, travel, teach, retirement, peace, spirituality, love, legacy.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting. You guys see any patterns in your own words? When we go through this exercise, these things are cool, but most of the words you circle are down here somewhere, right? And why it's important to you or how it makes you feel. Those are generally the words that tend to pop out. Why? Why do you think that is?
Cause of your,
It's a
at the
feeling,
end
it's
of
emotion.
how you feel,
Yeah.
like how it makes you feel.
Yeah, it's feelings. So I spend so much energy on the front end about mindset and about clarity and about beliefs. People a lot of times are like, just get to the business plan, dude, right? Doesn't matter without this. The reason I do this and take so much pain to go through this is because those are the words that get you through to the next level. Those are the words that you're looking to satisfy, okay? Those are the words that drive you. It's not an effing plaque on a wall. It's not doing X number of deals. It's not getting an icon award at EXP. It's none of that crap. Those are the words that are driving you currently, right? So once we figure out those, our goal is to build a business that does what? That hits those words. Does that make sense? So we've got to then start reframing the way we think about things and say, what does our business need to look like to have me feel like this? And it's going to be different for everybody, but that's where it gets tricky, and that's where this relationship with peers or accountability and openness, masterminds with me, if it's with me, it doesn't matter, because I'm free as part of this group, right? So whatever it is, get in a point where you can have these conversations and say, these are my words. How do I build a business like this? You may be amazed with the fact you don't have to do 50 million a year to live the life that meets those and to where you wake up completely fulfilled and jazzed. Does that make sense? So we don't need to worry about that aspect. We need to worry about getting there. Now you may decide to go ahead and continue to build because then you get to bless even more and more people, right? You get to bring them into your world or do whatever. But you may be like my friend Kevin that finds out he's perfectly happy living the life he wants to live at about 75 grand a year, right? Doing his own business, being with his wife and his kids, and having balance, right? So find out what that is and start building that life, okay? So own these words. I recommend you keep this. If you want to retranscribe it on something else that you can keep it, I still have the one I did in 2003, my very first one. And it was painful. It took me 5 hours, by the way. I had a one-on-one coach go through it with me. It took me 5 hours because I was not introspective at all. He started asking me questions. I'm like, dude, I want 100 rental properties. I want 50 million in production. And he goes, man, that's not what you want. He said, let's break it down for a minute. We had these Post-it notes all over my loft that I had that I was living in. And man, it took him about 5 hours to pull out. And what he finally did that helped me think about things differently was he said, I get it, you know numbers, that's cool, dude, but what kind of man do you want to be? I'm like, oh crap, that's a big question. I've never asked that question. I was 30. I was single. I was running and gunning, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know, dude. I have no idea. So that's why it took so long. But once you do that, you may find, and I want you to give yourself permission to keep this and look back at it and realize these headers may change, but the words don't. It's what's really fascinating. So a lot of my big goals that I started with, not to say I haven't hit some of them, but they're less important to me than the way my life looks. Does that make sense? Okay. So give yourself permission to embrace the words you circled. Give yourself permission to focus for now building some of these things, but I hope what this exercise did is provide more clarity on really what you just want your life to be able to look like. Because we can build this business to look like anything you want it to look like. That's the beauty of real estate, right? It's our ability to control it. So that's some heavy brain stuff a lot of times. You guys want to take a quick break? There's restrooms in the back if you want. Grab a drink, grab a coffee, stretch your legs, make some phone calls, whatever you need to do. Let's take 5 minutes. Cool, 5 minutes and we'll get back at it. So this clock right here, 1 o'clock straight up, we'll get started again based on that clock on the wall.
Grab chili was an option. Grabbing all chili was an option.
Well, grabbing more chili or just sour cream. I don't care. Whatever you need back there, it's got your name on it.
Springfield's a little far, but last time Our goal is one or 2 months this year. Just the education difference. Get our name more out there. Find out.
It's kind of like Grand Valley from over there, but it's not really. It's Gardner. Did you?
Yeah, it's actually, well, it's education. So it's really close to there. We close in Gardner, but, Zacharias closed out.
It reminds me a lot of Grand Valley. It's a little bit bigger, but
Yeah.
it's growing like
Why
it.
are we having?
I don't have like, it just feels like my own, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This feels
I know.
like mom's,
Yeah.
and that feels like my own. And I really like being there. A lot.
Cool. What's your husband do?
He works at Tesla.
I think one of the things that I
Do you drive it? No?
wanna buy is one of those things.
I don't like him, but
Yeah.
Just touch it
I
once.
like to drive it. Like my gas power car.
A friend of mine sent me one yesterday.
you got a muscle car out there?
Not today, girl, cause it's got 22-inch wheels on it. I had the beater out there.
That's funny.
Are you going to Cabo?
Yep.
I'm going to, Oh, you already do? You got a hotel and-
Whoops. Stepped in the middle there, now it's following me.
That's you, it's locked in.
Oh, I can't take it.
Hey, come back. Let's see, there we go, alright. You're welcome to take the lead, brother, if you want, I mean. I'm good with it. Alright, one more minute.
I know, I'm gonna pick some up when I get out of here. And go home.
Don't do it, don't do it.
I am.
Some self-control.
Gotta kinda shake it off, you know, shake off all that brain work.
So good.
Some Fritos, that usually does the trick.
I do need to figure out
If I'm not out here,
It sounds like you already did.
Okay, for me, but what about Kaylee? She was wanting like fried, last I just don't know if I feel like it.
alright.
Just made 2 turkey dinners. No, I didn't. You go to his house, he had that. Yeah.
No, I just.
Alright, we're getting started in 30 seconds. Like my countdown. 30 seconds.
30.
I said, how dare they?
I know, well, they're going to. He's in jail, it's a mess, it's a mess. I don't really like the jail one.
Getting signatures probably been tough there.
Well, when he's being a jerk to me, yeah. No, I've got a puppy.
Alright,
and
so how you guys doing after that? You feel good? Feel like you got some extra clarity now? Okay, alright, so you know what it is. You know what it is internally you're trying to accomplish, basically. What feelings you're trying to hit, and then we just want to build a business around it. So,
Yeah, whenever somebody walks by.
no,
yeah.
because you walk by it. Come on, man. Let's get this way.
This is the guy.
Over here. Alright, so. I may switch to you anyway. He just likes you. The camera likes you. Alright, so we've done that, and that's all really cool, and I do love that aspect of it, but like it or not, what's the scorecard in business? Scorecard in business has to do with the fact we still got to figure out a way to pay for that life that you want, right? That's the reality of it. So now we've got to put a price tag to this life. How much are you going to need to earn or have invested or to have built up to make this life a reality? What's it going to take with those things that you wrote to feel comfortable? You got it built into it?
Yeah, I built it.
Good.
Because I don't know how else I would do it.
Yeah. Well, you'd be amazed. Maybe you wouldn't be amazed, but I'm a numbers person, so I think about this stuff pretty naturally. One of the very first dates my wife and I were on, I was living in New York. She was living down in the Ozark, Missouri area. And she flew up, and we went to a coffee shop, and we did kind of this life conversation, right? What's important to you? Where do you see yourself? All these things. And she wrote out this wonderful vision, and I tell this story on her all the time. She wrote out all this beautiful vision in life. And I asked her, I said, that's awesome, how are you going to fund it? And she said, I don't know, it's just gonna happen. She's not the numbers person, right? But she's a strong believer in her faith and manifestation and all these. They're like, it's gonna work. This is what I want. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Right? But it doesn't usually just work like that, right? You still have to have plans. You still have to work through these breakthroughs. You still have to understand why you're doing it. Hold your money accountable. Hold your team accountable. Whatever it is, you've got to get there. But that's why we need to do this exercise. So if you want to be financially free, if that had anything to do with it, what does that need to look like for you to feel comfortable, to wake up and feel free? For most of us, honestly, it's probably less than you think. It's probably less than you think. I don't want to take away from Big Vision, but almost a former business partner of mine is a guy named David Osborne. David has multi-million-dollar businesses in the real estate world. Strip centers, retail, regions at my old company, franchise offices, all this stuff. David makes about $10 million a year right now. He's probably my age, 53, 54. And we had a great conversation probably about a decade ago. And he said, my life is really not much different than the life you can live with 20 grand a month. He said the difference being is that when I go to ski in Colorado, I stay at my house in Steamboat, and I fly on my plane to Steamboat. But the experience itself of skiing in Steamboat, you can have the same experience. Does that make sense? Right? So he said, what we've come to find out is that, and that may even sound like a big number to you, I don't know, but really at 15 to 20 grand a month, that solves almost everybody's problems on a day-to-day lifestyle, okay? It's just whether or not then you want bigger, fancier stuff, but it's not much of a lifestyle change once you hit to that level. Does that make sense? Because think about, what would your dream car be? How much would it cost a month? What would the house that you've looked at that you want, how much is the mortgage payment? When you start thinking about these things, maybe you're at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month at that point. After that, you still got 8 to 10 to 15. Does that make sense? So it's really at that point, it's not so much about that. It becomes, to get beyond that point for most people, the why has to be a why that tends to be more of one designed around legacy or giving back or ministry or something like that, okay? To have the desire to push through and keep going beyond that net income level. Does that make sense at all, what I'm saying here? Because it's very rapid. What very rapidly happens as you start hitting these different numbers is maybe you need more money because ultimately you want to buy back time. You need to hire an assistant, or you need to hire a buyer's agent, or you need to hire an operations manager. That comes out of your net income. So you need, if you want to earn $20,000 a month take home, then you need to make an extra 10 to pay staff. Does that make sense? Like, it becomes about buying back your time and buying back freedom. And I'll share a little story. When we moved back, so when we left Palm Beach area, Florida, we were doing about 200 units a year there. We had a team of 8, worked about 45 hours a week. The team did 1.3 million in GCI. Coming back to Missouri, the reason we stayed in Missouri is my daughter was 2.5. My dad was terminal with cancer. And we decided after about 3 months there, a couple of things. We decided, one, I want to get to know my dad, because I had a kind of cantankerous relationship. I'm going to take time off and get to know my dad before he dies. So we went through that, but I didn't work. I just took time off, stayed with him. And I also looked at my daughter, and we said, do we want to raise my daughter in South Florida or in the Ozarks? Really, where do we want to raise her, right? So we chose the Ozarks, and we chose time with my dad. Then when we got back into production about 8 months later, a lot of my business partners were expecting me just to go back into massive production, right? And they gave me grief about it. My business partners that owned the franchise with me were like, oh, you're going to come back, you're going to do this. They just had all these expectations. And I said, what this year has taught me is that's not what it's about for me anymore, right? So what I've discovered is, through watching that loss and watching my daughter start to grow, is I want to keep my lifestyle the same, but I want my life back, right? I want my hours. So it became, let's just use, I'll just make up a number. Let's say the number is 250, okay? I want to keep earning 250, but how do I do it in 30 hours instead of 45? How do I do it in 20 hours instead of 45? How do I do it in 15 hours, right? And the journey and challenge then became, how do I keep a good lifestyle but continue to reduce my effort to have that? Does that make sense? So it never became after that about, oh, I need to double my income because I want to put that in my pocket. It became, if I need to grow my income, it's because I'm wanting to buy back time. Does that make sense? So that's what you're gonna hit when you start hitting those those moments we talked about the breakthroughs and breakdowns. That's usually where it starts to happen, is you start to kind of get on that edge. At least somebody that's been there, and some of you have probably been there in your careers too, where you get this edge of productivity versus efficiency versus income, and there comes a point where it's a law of diminishing returns. Like, you can't put in another hour. You can't put in 2 more hours, and if you do, is it worth 1 more commission check? It's like, is that really what's driving me to stay up till midnight writing an offer tonight, right? Probably not. You'll get to that point. So we want to get to the understanding of what's fueling us back on your quadrant, okay? And get real clarity about that, because the ones that I've seen that push just for the sake of pushing, they burn out, man. They burn out. They blow through relationships. I did that. I caused a divorce early in my career when I was moving around opening those franchises like crazy. I was working 80, 90 hours a week, chasing this thing I thought was so important, right? It's really not at the end of the day, right? So be careful with what you chase. Keep mindful of what it is you really want your life to look like, but put a price tag to it. Because now that we've got a price tag, that's what we're going to start playing with today. So does anybody have questions about putting the price tag to their life that you've got down on here? Is everybody comfortable with a number? Do we need to talk about it? This is an open room.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, I feel like I put down 20,000 just based on what you said.
Okay. Do you need 20,000?
Yeah.
Do you need 30,000? I mean,
Starting point.
no, so get clear. So here's where I would challenge you with it
I
is,
mean, 20,000 is gone like that. I run through money like that every month, and it
Talking about
goes like
Nets or gross?
just
Net-
goes just
net
living the
income.
life and not buying expensive things. Like, just before you know it, it's
I
gone.
need
So
to
you
pay
need
off
to
bills.
be here.
yeah, so think about it. So you might need an extra amount now. So look at, let's say 20,000 is the number you wrote down, 20 grand a month. With that 20 grand, where does it get allocated? Right? So if that's your take home, obviously you're gonna have some taxation, but we're gonna get a real good CPA. We're gonna reduce your tax rate down to 10 to 12%, okay? When you get the really good CPAs, right? So you're gonna reduce your taxable income. And then you've got maybe 16,000 left. You've got mortgage payment, right? Until it's paid off. You've got car payment until it's paid off. You've got maybe a vacation fund, retirement fund. You may be playing catch up on your retirement fund, whatever it is. You may have kids' college education. Things add up pretty quick, right? Groceries, whatever it may be, gas. This all adds up pretty quick. But again, when you start to line item of what is it and what's left over, is there enough then to continue doing what you want to do from your lifestyle, or does it need to be 25,000, or does it need to be 30,000? Again, you may be like Kevin. Kevin was a low debt guy. His house was paid off. He had a 5, 6, 7-year-old car. His overhead was $1,500 a month. That was it.
That's good.
Amazing, right?
I
Doing
mean-
this mid-30s with 4 kids.
I mean, based on
$1,500.
5 years, I think I need 20,000 minimum,
Okay,
because that's 240 a year.
$240 a
And
year.
then something else, that you said that, I always forget about is the stupid taxes. I don't forget. I file them every year, but some years I'm like, oh shit, I'm going on the payment plan again.
Yeah, they're taking your chunk, right?
Yeah.
And it's easy to do in real estate, right? It's easy to get that money in and have it go out the door, and then it can come, April, or for me a lot of times October, right? When I'm filing my business taxes in October, you're like, oh wow, I may not put enough back this year. But I always play that game. Kathy doesn't like it, but I'm always like, I kind of gamble on, I don't want to loan them my money either, right? And have it just sitting there tied up by the government for a year.
Yeah.
So we kind of play that dance, but where is that? And if that's coming in consistently, and if you're able to retire debts and that's still coming in, and if you're able to shift the business from active income to more of a passive business income, what does that look like for your lifestyle, right? So if you get to the point where you're trading less and less time for that money, does that give you the lifestyle you want to lead?
I mean, at 20,000 a month, that's 1.2 million in 5 years.
Yeah. So what can you do with that, right? And does it set you up? Now, the other thing is, then what's your exit strategy too, right? So we all have to look at that as well. We're actively earning. If you're debt free, a lot of that can go toward investments, right? If you're not, it's going toward other things. So then you've got to look at building your business into one that's more inbound, right? It's the old, there it is. It's the old Kiyosaki's quadrant. Are you guys familiar with this cash flow quadrant? Basically, right, JSBI, right? Or E, whatever it is he's got here, ESBI. But this is where most of us start out, right? And that's as an employee, having a job, and we're earning that certain amount of income. And then we get this idea, I'm gonna go be my own boss, right? When we come over here and we become self-employed. But all you really did is exactly what the word says, you gave yourself a job, right? As a solo producer in real estate, you're self-employed, all you are is a guy that has a job. You just make it or break it, right? So you're self-employed. I always have fun asking the question as we go through these clinics is who in here feels like they own their own business? I'm not gonna put you on a spot in a small group, but people just raise their hands, I own my own business. I'm like, okay, answer this for me. Can you leave for 6 months and have it produce just as well as the day you left, if not better? If you're not there, how does it run? If it doesn't run without you, then you don't have a business, you have a job. Because you're having to show up every day to make it produce. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. When you get to the point where you make that and you can step away, then you own a business, right? And after that, you take the extra profits and you run it into investments. That's the progression that we want to make in our financial journey. Kind of goes like that in the career, okay? So shifting over to business and investments. You guys have made a great start by getting in a position where you're in control of that future, right? You're not working for somebody dictating what your ceiling looks like. You make your own ceiling, whatever it looks like. But then getting over here to a business, that happens with really answering kind of the 3 questions of who, how, and what, right? Who, how, and what do I need around me to start making it a business, to where it does run, to where the business has its own personality and drive and automations and staffing that works, whether I'm there day to day or not, okay? And then you get to where you take that money again and you put it in investments, real estate investments, buying other businesses, whatever it looks like. But you can build this to where you essentially step out and you're the CEO. And you have your operations manager, your sales manager, your inside sales director that run the business for you. And you've got 3 or 4 people reporting to you, and that's it, right? And really that's the thing, is that ultimately, as I want you to think about it, as you start growing this business, any business really, you can only control and manage about 5 relationships of people that work for you. Anything beyond that's going to get watered down. So you need to start thinking about who do you want to be in business with? Who's your leadership, potential leadership? How do you pour into them just as much as you're pouring into yourself with classes like this? Are they on the same page? Do they share the same vision, the same work ethic, the same cultural values? Do they share your morals? Do they share your standards? And are they naturally intelligent enough, not brilliant necessarily, but naturally intelligent enough to learn the role? And are they willing to take action? That's kind of the work ethic. If those things happen, everything else can be trained. Okay? But if you find the right person with the right mentality and the right value system that mirrors your value system and culture, that'll transcend and translate nicely to your clients. Because ultimately clients do business with you, Karen, because of the experience you deliver the client, or they wouldn't keep coming back. Fair? Mm-hmm. It's not they love you, but it's not because of you, it's really because of the experience. And so if you surround yourself with people that have the same values, the same work ethic, the same compassion, whatever it is, they'll be able to serve that same level. Does that make sense? They'll deliver the same experience. So at that point, it becomes duplicatable. And you don't water down the culture of your team, okay? So your clients don't feel like they've been handed off. They feel like they're part of this journey with you, okay? Where people make a mistake is they just plug bodies in, and they put the wrong people in the wrong seat on the bus. And they're like, oh, come here. I see you sell siding. I'm hiring you because you got a sales background. It may be the perfect fit, but if I don't really know who you are, and if we don't align culturally and stuff like that, it doesn't matter how good you are in sales, at some point, we're gonna have friction. Mm-hmm. Either we're gonna have friction or you and my clients are gonna have friction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they're wanting or used to.
My every day is built off of everything you're saying, because I have a team that runs, and I don't door knock anymore because my customers are so happy with my team that they just refer people to me.
That's
I
it.
don't have to knock anymore.
That's it. For years we have fought, since maybe a year or 2 ago, we started coming back into heavier production, my wife and I. And she and I have different processes, right? So different ways of looking at it. And I tried, even though she's the face and lead of our team, I tried running my systems in the background, and it took us a good 1.5 years to, honestly, even with all our experience, we were getting in our own way, because I was building something culturally that's mine, which is more hunting, prospecting, all that. She's relational, right? Those two don't really mix. And so, like you're saying, door knocking versus repeat and referral, two different ways of handling the client interaction, right? And so there was this friction between team lead, her, inside sales, the messaging, the relationships we were or were not building were more cold versus warm, and it just didn't work. And finally, we realized that we need to duplicate her. She's a natural networker, she's a natural relationship builder. So we now have taken over about 10 or 11 of the networking groups in our town, and we've started placing our people. We've hired them whether or not they're good in those groups. If they can come in and fit and go into that group and be just as liked and make those relationships with those people, then they're gonna be a good match with our team, because that's how we build our business, right? So understanding that as you scale, you wanna duplicate you in a lot of ways. Administratively, it's more just about values, service, and work ethic, because they're not having to do the sales piece as much, but they're obviously an extension of you, because if there's something with a contract issue, who are they most often talking to on the phone? Your admin team. And if your admin doesn't know how to handle conversations or culturally is not a fit, you'll feel that pretty quick too. So anyway, now we've got that, you're gonna start to think about those numbers and what the business needs to look like, okay? So here's the 9 ways that a lifestyle agent thinks. The first is you want to be powered by a big why. We talked about that a lot. You've got to have your clarity. So number 1, you've got to have your clarity, transport yourself to that moment, know why you're doing what you're doing. The next thing is focus on people over profits. Put people first, profits will come, okay? People over profits. Think about possibilities. Oh, that screen's all messed up down there. Get out of that. Okay. So think about possibilities, big thinking, open thinking, focus on the models, mastering the models, taking massive action. Understand that failure is not an option, right? That deal falls through, it's just part of the road bumps, part of the journey. You make a bad hire, get over it, move on, whatever, right? You know where you're taking everything. Your past does not determine your future. We've talked about that a lot today. Don't let your past stories do it. Fall in love with your future more than with your past. Time versus money, right? You feel like we've talked about that a little bit today so far. At some point, that's it. Where's your time? Where's your money? Where's it best spent? And then finally is LCV. So what LCV is that is kind of goes along with the people over profits conversation. LCV is your lifetime client value. Start understanding that this is a long game if you do it right. It's a game that over the years will create predictability and profitability through repeat and referral business. Your business gets better and better and easier. It should get at least a 20 to 30% naturally organic growth year over year just from taking care of people. Because they'll refer their cousin Eddie, right? Mm-hmm. They'll refer them, or they'll come back and want to buy their first investment property. Or whatever it is, they're going to sell and they're going to move up. They just had 2 babies, they need a bigger house. Lifetime client value only happens when you focus on people over profits. When you get out of the mindset of being transactional. Get out of that. Get rid of commission breath. A lot of agents have it. Get rid of tired scripts that are all about closing the deal. Focus on consulting, focus on relationships. And lifetime client value happens. We track our referral trees, right? Like where our business comes from. And one thing you're going to want to be doing in your business, and I probably actually hit this somewhere in a slide, but I go on tangents every now and then, so I'm just going to keep going. You're going to have this just random market out here. That's like billboard ads, stuff like that, right? You then have a target market that may be those networking groups, right? It's very purposeful. Maybe people at church, it may be farming, a neighborhood, it may be going after probate. It's very defined and specific, something that you go after out there. Then you're going to have your sphere that you've built the relationships with. And then inside here, you're going to have your core advocates. What happens is really your focus should be on moving people all the way toward the inner circle over time. You're building more and more of these core advocates, these street warriors. What they look like is if they're really a core advocate and you've got 5 or 10 of them in your life, you're gonna be doing great. What they look like is they're the ones that if they're sitting at a restaurant somewhere and they hear somebody talking about selling a house, they're interrupting that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I just heard you not to be eavesdropping, but you gotta call Jeff. You know what I mean?
I have one customer in Columbia that literally strives to get me 10 people every year at least, and he
That's
just, I don't know why he
Cool.
does. I mean, we have a good relationship. I only did his house,
Yeah.
But
But
it
you
just-
find those?
He
When you
just
find
keeps-
5 or 10 of those,
Give me-
your base is taken care of, right? And then if you can, again, if you build an extension of yourself with other like-minded people that can build their own core, then the idea of doing 100 deals a year is no big deal. The idea of doing 200 deals a year is no big deal because you've got somebody giving you 10, one person giving you 10. And if they do that for, let's say only half of them close, their job is not to close, their job is to refer, to introduce. We reward the introduction behavior. By the way, just so you know, too many agents don't. They reward if and only if it closes. They'll send them a gift or they'll do something after that referral closes. Stop doing that. Do it up front. They did their job. They introduced us to somebody. We want to thank them for that. Whatever that looks like, a coffee date, buying them lunch, sending them a gift card, doesn't matter. Get in the habit of rewarding their habit, right? Of them doing what we want them to do. It's our job to follow up and nurture and turn it into a client, okay? But when you do that, you start tracking it. Of our top 10 people, their LCV is $186,000 from that one person, from that one core. So you do that times 10 or 12 or 15 people, that's a couple $1,000,000 that we can attribute in our earning history to 10 people. So the more you move people into that, right, again, the more solid your business is and you're focusing on your top stuff. If you haven't already listened to or read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X, listen to it. I'm listening to it right now in my car. I just keep listening to it. Like, it's so amazing. But it's shifting our mindset to stop thinking 2X. Most of us have been trained in our lives to think about doubling our production, doubling our income, doubling what do I need to do to double, right? That's the wrong thing because usually it translates into giving us an answer of I just need to do more of this or more of that. When you start saying what would it take for me to 10X my business in the next 12 months, that's a completely different question. What it makes you realize is that you have to focus on completely different things to go 10 times bigger. And usually it's what's my core look like and how do I get a better core? That's really driving me $200,000 per core person. How do I get 10 of those or 20 of those, right? So your focus becomes hyper laser. And also, what do I need to get rid of in my life that's distracting me from focusing on my 2 or 3 things, right? To really go to that next level. And also, it's going to make you focus on people over profits and who do I need around me that I can duplicate and succeed through. It's a different process of thinking instead of how do I go from doing 10 deals to 20 deals or 20 to 40. How do I go to doing 200? If I'm doing 20 this year, how do I go to 200 deals a year? Different conversation, right? But anyway, so does this make sense? Any questions about this? Okay. So these are the models that we're really going to dive into over the next hour and a half. Economic model, lead generation, budget, and organizational model. So we're not going to give a break. We already had a break. All right, so here it is. What are the numbers you've got to hit? Okay. What are the numbers you've got to hit? And we're going to focus on these 4 things. We're going to focus on appointments, conversion rates, gross closed income, and net income. Okay? Appointments, conversion rates, gross closed income, and net operating income. Here's a basic if you want to make $1 million or more a year net profit. Okay? If you want to make $1 million a year in net profit, you're going to have expenses. You're going to have to bring in roughly $2.4 million. Okay? Just so you know, this has been proven time and time again that by the time you get to that level, there's a pretty narrow path to produce at that level. There's a lot of ways to succeed at $100,000 or $200,000 a year. When you're talking about going to 7 figures, the path's pretty narrow. Okay? Meaning the systems are very similar. These are things that have been figured out over the last, let's say, 20 years by trial and error. Okay? And when interviewed, these top players just happened to figure out this is where they had to operate or how they had to operate to be at that level. So to do that, you got to bring in $2.4 million a year. You're going to spend about $700,000 in cost of sales and $700,000 in operating expenses. Okay, to leave yourself with $1 million. What does that look like? based on a 250,000, I'm not hover here too much, but an average sales price of 250, which we're probably north of that here now, right? What are we, 350?
It's 343.
So almost 350, another 100 grand, right? So these can shift down, but to do that, it would be 320 closings a year will make you $1 million net profit a year. Now I'm only going to this standpoint because I want you to know, again, we know how to get there, okay? So wherever you want to be on that journey or your lifestyle, understand we've got the path all the way up to there, okay, and beyond, really. So when we get there, what does that mean? It means how many appointments do we need to go on? We need to have roughly 300 listing appointments and 300 buyer appointments a year. So about one a day, okay? Well, it's really 2 a day, one on each side, right? One on each side. Is that you doing that though?
No.
It's not you doing it. It's you driving the business that does it, right? It's finding the people that are the continuation and extension of yourself, your values, your work ethic, right, to get there. So if you had, let's say 10 a week, that's 10 a week, let's say Monday through Friday, or let's say let's say 7 days a week. If that's 2 appointments a day, do you think if you had, so that's let's say 14 appointments a week, if you had 5 or 6 sales agents, do you think they could each get 1.5 a week? Yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So don't look at these numbers and get overwhelmed. Just understand there's just a gap between where you are today versus where you're going to end up, okay? That's not that unrealistic of a number to do, to get those kind of numbers. The biggest thing is focusing on appointments. Most people don't focus on appointments. They focus on closings and they focus on income. But none of that happens if you don't have the appointment. So the first thing you need to start learning to track in your business of real estate, if you want to be a master at it, is your appointments. How many appointments am I taking? Start out with a month or start out with a week. I find it's easier to start with a week because if you start with a month, you keep giving yourself more time to get the appointments for your goal. Well, I didn't get any this week, but I still got 3 weeks left, right? And you kind of just punt it down the road and you give yourself a reason that it's going to be okay. From the best perspective you can, the more you look at it, the regularly you look at it, the more like you're going to hit your target, whatever it is. So if you say, I want to hit this number, we'll work on your income here in a minute to tell you exactly what your numbers need to look like, okay? But focus on appointments. In a perfect world, you're going to want to know how many are seller-based and how many are buyer-based, okay? Then we're going to talk about conversion rate. If you have an appointment, how many turn into a client? That's called conversion, all right? How many do I convert into a client? And then from there, how many convert into an actual closing? Not every client you meet with is going to hire you. Not every client that hires you is going to buy or sell. It just doesn't happen sometimes for one reason or another, okay? We'll talk about those numbers here in a minute. But if you do this, your average sales price in this model is $250, but we're talking closer to $350 here. Springfield's right at $250 right now, so this works for us. But that changes your units. If you have a higher average sales price, you need fewer closings than this model says. If you have a lower sales price, it just makes sense. You're going to need more deals, okay?
This is all based off 3%, right?
Yeah, this is all based off of the 3% per side. So, okay, so this is just another representation of it, but this is a monthly breakdown. So monthly, you need 25 buyer appointments, 25 listing appointments. So about, again, 2 a day, 2 appointments a day, okay? 2 appointments a day. So how many people do you need to drive that kind of result for you? Okay. So what we want to talk about now is your personal 5-year plan. If you have a number kind of written around or in your head about funding this life that we did in our quadrants, right? If you've got that number, we're going to start working on your personal plan, okay? So what does that need to look like? And I want you to understand this before we go into it. I didn't really understand this, but this is for a long time until I lived it, and that is the hockey stick curve, okay? So what happens when you start out, especially as a solo agent, and you're trying to hit these numbers? We're talking big possibilities today, right? We're talking big numbers today. When you first start pushing toward a big goal, it feels like you're pushing against this big, huge iron gear that weighs 1 million pounds. And you're trying just to get that thing to move and budge an inch. And sometimes you're like, gosh, it's not moving. What I want to tell you is keep pushing on that gear. Keep pushing on it, okay? Because what happens is once it gets going, the weight of the gear makes it go even faster and faster on its own. It gets momentum, okay? And that's the same thing that happens in your business. So if you focus on, which most people don't, if you will focus on those foundational systems we talked about earlier, and getting them in place, and then just duplicating those foundational systems and stacking, it hits a hockey stick to where you eventually, the growth is exponential, okay? It is not, growth in real estate and business in general done right is not a straight line. What happens is a lot of people experience a dip right here. That's why I talk about that breakdown versus breakthrough kind of moment, where you feel like you're doing everything you can. You may even feel like profitability is going down for a minute, and you're like, what am I doing? What's going on? I'm making less per deal. I'm spending more time. I'm doing whatever. But then you find this magic where you maybe make that first key hire. You get a transaction coordinator and they get rid of all your paperwork. You're like, oh my God, now I can make more relationships, right? Then you do that, and then you make your next key hire, and you hire an operations manager or whatever for the customer experience journey, right? When all that's off, you're like, man, I get to keep talking to more people or whatever it is. And then you bring on your first buyer's agent or showing agent or listing specialist. And then you just keep pouring into those people, and you develop those people, and it starts to skyrocket. I worked with a guy that we did some coaching. He was about $100,000 a year net income. Shifted his mindset, because his goal initially was just to make $50,000 a year, replace his cop salary. He's a cop in Springfield, right? Got to the point where he's making $100,000. He's pretty happy. Like, man, you have so much more in you. You can be whatever you want to be. And reevaluated all the business models. And once he made about two key hires, I would say, he started seeing a real difference in his business. Today he has 40 probably team members, and he's making $2 million a year in Springfield, Missouri. He's making $2 million a year, right? He's doing about 600 units a year. Took him about 4 years to go from $100,000 a year to $1 million a year. That's not very long to go 10 times, right? Because the systems were the right systems. Then it became a matter of just duplicating himself through talented people. Does that make sense? That can help execute, be rock stars at their role, and just stay in their lane. And once that happened, he's had to hold them accountable. He doesn't show up anymore. You know, he meets them once a week maybe for like a Zoom call. That's it. Runs on self. So, you don't have a worksheet, grab your paper. I want you to put down your net income goal. What do you need to bring home? So at the top of your page, just any page, blank page, doesn't matter. We're going to have some fun with that. Huh?
Are we talking yearly?
Yeah, we're talking yearly right now. The one that will fund that life. And I'll play along with you, and we'll do 250 up here as a number, just for the sake of a number. Okay? Then what you got to do is you got to figure out what the GCI needs to be. That's your net income at top, right? So what GCI do you need to do that? Get your phone out or calculator or whatever you got, and take your number, and you're going to divide that in a calculator by 0.416. So put your net income goal, then divide 0.416.
600,961.
600.
961.
961. Okay, so that's the GCI target in this case. You're going to have cost of sales, and you're going to have operating expenses. So does anybody know the difference off the top of your head? What is a cost of sale versus an operating expense?
Cost of sale is like your photographs, like the things to service your clients.
That's one way of looking at it. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you how I look at it when I'm running the numbers real quick, just in my brain to make me think about it easier.
Okay.
Is anything tied to my commission.
Okay.
Meaning it's transactional, right? So if I'm paying my split to the company, I'm paying a buyer's agent, I'm paying a referral fee, I'm paying a listing agent, whatever it may be, that's my cost of sale. It's coming out of the commission. Operating expenses, everything else, my cell phone, my car mileage, my office rent, right? My marketing expenses, anything literally else, my technology fees, that's operating expenses. So I look at operating expenses like those are my fixed expenses regardless of what kind of production I'm doing. I have to pay that bill. That's it, right? And cost of sale comes out at the time of sale. Those are both about 29% each of your gross, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take that 600,000, for example, in this case, 609.61 times 29%. What do you get?
174, 270, or 279.
Okay.
174.
And it's going to be the exact same number here, so you can just carry that down, okay? What operating expenses also covers is salaries. right? So if you've got your administrators, you've got somebody on your team you're paying, a marketing manager, social media manager, whatever it may be, that's also in that 174. Technology fee, office fee, and that splits. In this level of production, 600,000 GCI, odds are, just so you guys know, just model speaking, you're gonna have probably 2 to 3 staff at this level. Some can be virtual, and you're probably gonna have 2 to 3 agents if you wanna kick back and have balance, okay? So that covers all of that and gives you your net income. Everybody have your own math done so far? Any questions about the math? Is the math mathing?
I don't know.
I think I missed something.
Okay, so take your net income number.
Yeah,
You mind if I look?
Divided point.
that's fine.
Okay, so we're gonna take your net income number and divide by 0.416.
Yep, that's that one at the top.
Okay.
Okay, and so your cost of sales is 29%. So take the 600 times 0.29.
Oh, it's the 600? Thought it was net.
Oh, no, it's of the gross. So whatever your gross, well, what was was the 600 your net goal?
No, that's the gross.
Okay, so take that times 0.29. Mind if I look?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I don't think I did it. You said divide that by that.
Well, if that's your gross, that's your net income goal right there. Okay, so divide that by that. you
I
get
didn't
that
see it was
number.
gross. Dang it.
Take that number times
So the GCI is what he's
0.29.
doing the
0.29.
Yeah,
Take
29,
this
So-
number
the
here
big number.
Yeah.
times.
I think we're all using the same
Times
number.
0.29.
No, I was
So
doing the
that's gonna
250
be
because I could
420.
Yeah, that's what I
down and I
thought.
thought that
Yeah.
was great.
No, that's net.
It's just, right, roughly
Right, so the
400,000.
gross
You
is
take
what I
the
think that's gonna end up being?
1.7.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're gonna have 400,000 cost of sale, 400,000 operating expenses roughly, okay? So,
Where does that number 0.416 come from?
that really is knowing that that's what removing these equals. That's all it is, okay? So we already know the models, right? We know that you're gonna spend roughly 58%, 58 to 59% overhead. This leaves your net income calculation. It's just the math of kind of working it backwards. Because most people don't know these numbers. They know what they want to take home. So that's why we work backwards. I'm sorry if that is confusing, but we start with your net income goal. We know that your net income goal, if you're leveraged, which most people will be by the time they hit the life they want with their 5-year goal. Meaning if you're leveraged, if you have staff, you have assistants, you have maybe a buyer agent or two, these are what your percentages are gonna be pretty close to. You're gonna take home, your net income is gonna be about 40%. Roughly 40% of the dollars you bring in goes in your personal pocket. That's profit, okay? The rest goes out to pay the bills and pay your staff and pay your buyer's agents and all that.
Taxes?
Say what you
No, you're gonna pay taxes out of that, out of the 250. I'm sorry? Somebody started to ask a question.
I did, but I don't remember all of it now.
I feel like mine needs to be higher.
For the net income or for the gross income?
What my I guess gross is.
Your gross is at 1.4, right?
Is
To
that
make
tax?
what you wanna
Is
make,
that what
that's,
it's
He's gonna have
that's,
to pay
that's
taxes
real.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
accurate.
So then why does it automatically
Because
go down?
I mean, I just gotta get better.
What do you mean? The,
Well,
like you still have to pay taxes out
yeah,
of your
but
net.
why is it, so if it's at 250 and then it goes to point,
No, so I'm sorry. So this is, let me kind of rewrite this, okay? Let me do it the other
So
way.
you have
Let me
to-
start with revenue. Maybe that will look
super
more
sorry.
clear.
You have to make
You're good.
600,000.
So if we got
to net
6,961 in revenue in gross, then out of that, we're gonna have 29% as operating expenses and another 29% as cost of sale. Each of those are, from our math up here, 174,279. So we subtract that, both of those, right? So 600 minus 174 minus another 174, and that gets us to a $250,000 net.
Right.
So that's just written the other way. The reason we do it backwards is because people don't know this number. They know what they need to make and earn, so we do backwards math. Does that make sense? It can be a little confusing, but we do backwards math. So this is really a lot of the numbers we're going to use now as we move forward, because we need to know what we have to do to produce this number, right? We're not focusing now on producing 250. That's what we want to take home. We're focusing on producing 600 in this example. Fair?
And then, would you go again? What kind of list what's on your list of operating expenses?
So operating
and
expenses
COS?
are basically just regular bills, right? If you've got salaries is the biggest one. Salaries of this whole number, of this 300 something number, salaries are about 12 to 13%, period, off the top, okay? You're gonna be paying 90 to 100,000 a year in salaries at this level, okay? So salaries are a big one. Your office rent, if you have office rent, your technology, your marketing, Supra, MLS, cell phone, right? Anything, gas, gas mileage, all that, whatever is exactly. Whatever is not tied to the transaction specifically, that's just being in business. Marketing would go there, yeah.
And then the COS.
Cost of sale is what COS stands for. Cost of sale is anything that comes out of the commission directly. Cost of sale is your broker split. Cost of sale is what you maybe pay in referral fees to Homes for Heroes or Veterans United or whatever, right? Cost of sale is if you have showing agents or buyer's agents that you're paying on split, not on salary. That's cost of sale. It's directly tied to the transaction and it comes out of the commission. Does that make sense? You have more clarity on that?
You wouldn't take your taxes out of that?
That's coming out up here. And I don't do tax calculations because everybody has different accountants and that have different skill sets and different ways of writing that off, right? So this is what we're bringing in, and then you do your own business on the back end of that. Fair enough?
But then you're really not making 250. Why wouldn't you take it off down there?
Right. Because I can't, because I don't know how you manage your money.
Let's say it's 15%.
I pay very little in
Yeah,
taxes.
horrible about managing money.
Yeah, I pay very little, so my net's pretty close to my take home. Because of just tax deferred investments, right? So different things you get creative with over time.
Who is your accountant?
Stephen Gintz is his name.
Wasn't it?
Stephen Gintz.
Does he work
He's-
remotely?
Yeah. Yeah, he actually represents a lot of businesses around the country. So, he'll pay him, but he's good. Yeah. So over time, he whittled our realized tax rate to about 11%. That's almost unfair because then when you've got that extra 20 or 30% to reinvest in other opportunities, what do you do with it? Versus the guy that's getting the same amount as a paycheck player with a W-2. See what I'm saying? Like when you reinvest that money in tax deferred strategies, real estate holdings, depreciationable events, right? It gets to the point where that's why I think it was Mitt Romney made like 14 million and he paid something like 100,000 in taxes, right? Because he's got good accountants. So when you look at this stuff, this is where it starts. So this is a basic understanding. So now this is where it gets a little more complicated, but I want you to take the time here and get this right. So if that 600,000 is our gross revenue, it goes up your top, whatever your number is. And right now we're gonna assume by the time you get to this level, your business is 50-50, meaning sellers versus buyers. Okay? So that means you would need 300,000 here from sellers, and you need 300,000 from buyers in gross commission. Everybody with me so far? We're splitting that down the middle, okay? So if we're doing that, and we're getting whatever your commission rate is, because we don't fix commissions in this industry, right? I'm gonna use 3% for my example, okay? So if I'm getting 3%, how much volume do I need to sell to generate that? So what I do is I'm gonna say my average commission is 3% for sellers and 3% for buyers. If that's the case, you're gonna take whatever your number is here, divide it on your calculator by 0.03. Okay? Take your number and divide it by 0.03. And that's going to tell you your volume needed. And In this case, in mine, it's easy round math. I need 10 million in production from sellers and 10 million from buyers. Okay. Before I go much further, do you have your numbers yet on your own numbers? Do you want to?
No, because I'm gonna go home and go over this. I'm not a no.
Okay. So far, right, we need to bring in 600. Half of it's from buyers, half of it's from sellers. That means 300,000 from sellers, 300,000 from buyers. If I'm getting 3% when I represent them, that means I need to sell $10 million worth of seller listings and $10 million worth of buyer contracts. Okay?
This is all based on the $250,000 average price.
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
This is not based on that yet. We're not even there yet. We're going to get there though. Okay.
This is
This is based on a $250,000 net income.
Net from the 600 gross.
Right,
Yeah.
but how do you know that you need $10 million in sellers?
Because I get 3%.
Of what? Oh, you
10
went off the
million.
300,000,
Yep.
right?
So if I sell 10 million at 3%, that brings me in 300,000 revenue for the
Okay.
sellers, right?
Cause you divided that number
Yeah.
by .03.
I got it now, but yeah, it just takes a minute.
Bad writing. Yeah,
It's
that's why
not
we
your
want to hover
writing.
here a little bit. Like we want you to understand and wrap around this, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to drive a lot of the rest of the conversation. So this is where you're kind of talking about, Amy, next, right? So
Okay.
next what we do is we figure out what's our average sales price. So you're going to divide it by your average sales price. So if your average sales price is $350, put in $350. If your average sales price is $250, put in $250. Use your numbers. I'm going to use $250 because it makes my life easy over here. Same thing over here. And also it's what my Springfield numbers are. That's going to tell you how many units closed. How many do I need to actually sell? Well, if I do 10 million and each house is 250, I need to sell 40 sellers and I need to sell 40 buyers. Because 40 times 250,000 is 10 million. Does that make sense? If it's 350, it's going to be closer to 30. Okay. If it's 500, it's going to be 20. Right? See how the maths, right? So just figure out what your numbers are. Be real about your numbers. And that'll tell you how many units you need to close on each side. Okay. Now we're going to talk about conversion rates. And this is where, especially people that have been in the business less than 5 or 6 years, this is a little bit of shift because there for a little while you took a listing, you put a sign in the yard and it sold. It just happened. Like it was feeding frenzy, right? Those days are gone. That's not happening anymore. You have to market it and you have to price it right now. You have to have it in good condition right now, right? We're going back to actually having to know our industry now, which is also, I think, an awesome thing. So when that happens, how many are actually going to close? So what's the conversion rate? Meaning, what percentage of listings that I have will sell? I use about 2/3, 65% of my listings will close and 80% of my buyers. So what we want to say is here, how many clients do I need to sign an agency agreement with, okay? Meaning I take a listing, 2 out of 3 sell, what's that look like? So I would take 40 divided by 0.65.
So this conversion rate you're coming up with is just like an average or something? Because
It
like
is.
my conversion rate's like 98 with what I do
Yeah,
right now. I don't
it
lose
won't be.
people,
It won't be.
not in this business.
Now it might be on how many you get to sign, but it won't be how many close. So what
Because
happens
they
is
they lose the financing or something happens.
financing happens, inspections go bad, people lose a job, just different things happen. They decide not to sell. Stuff happens, right? You can obviously get better and better about what you take, how you price it, all these things, but there are other variables that just happen. So plan on about 2 out of 3 of your seller-based listings closing. So in this case, I would need to sign 60 of them over here. Okay?
10% of people die on the transaction.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm kidding.
Usually the agent. The agent or the lender usually, right?
The broker
So-
will find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. So then the other side of this is on buyers. So if I get a buyer to sign and work with me and sign the agency agreement, 80% of the time I get them to the closing table. Okay. So your number over here is you're going to need 50 to sign. Okay. So meaning I need 60 seller agency agreements and I need 50 buyer agency agreements to close 40 each, okay? Now then we've got another conversion rate of how many do I need to have appointments. Appointments to signing. It's the exact opposite, okay? 80% of the sellers I meet will hire me, 65% of buyers, okay? So this ends up how many appointments needed? Somebody do the math for me.
So what are you taking?
So take 60 divided by 0.8.
Okay,
That's gonna be what, 75, is that right?
hold on, you're too quick.
77.
77. And on the opposite side, take 50 divided by 0.65.
77.
Okay. So this is math. Math 101, right? Real estate math 101. So to make $600,000 a year, I need to go on 77 seller appointments. I need to go on 77 buyer appointments. That is 144 appointments, okay? So, per year. So if I need 144 appointments per year, how many is that per week? What's 144 divided by 52?
144 divided by 52? 2.76.
It's like 3. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
it
3.
doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah, so let's say 2.7. 2.7 appointments a week. This is what your focus becomes. Your focus becomes appointments per week. It is not anymore about number of closings. It's not about income. It's not about any of that. It's about what do I need to do to get 2.7 meetings with people thinking about buying or selling real estate every week that are sincerely thinking about it. When you do that, you'll bring in, on average, based on averages, 600,000. Now here's where the coaching kicks in, and you can do this again, peer partner, whatever. If you're hitting the 2.7 number, but you're not hitting the number of signings, what's off? If you're not converting the appointment to sign agency, what did you mess up on? Usually your presentation, right? You did not have a compelling enough presentation with your value proposition as to why they should hire you as their representative. So then we're like, oh man, Lim, you're doing a great job, man. You're hitting your appointments, but you're not getting the conversion. So let's talk about your presentation. Let's beef up your value proposition, how you articulate it, how you communicate, how you get them to sign, right? That's the coaching opportunity. If you're taking the agreements, but you're not getting them to close, then we look at that. What's happening in your customer journey that's not getting them all the way there? Are you not getting them pre-approved before you work with them? With a lender, is financing the issue? Are you not vetting the clients well there and also on the seller? Are you not having the dialogues you need to have to get them with their emotional attachment to the outcome as to why they're selling, to where you know it so you can push and prod when you need to push and prod? Does it need to be price reduced? How do you have that conversation if you don't know what's important to them? As soon as you start talking price reduction and you have no idea what their values and goals are, you've lost them. They think you're just trying to get their house done and sold so you can get paid. If you know what their value and what they're trying to accomplish and you relate it back to that, then it makes sense. Mr. Seller, remember you told me you needed to be out by February 1st because of X, Y, and Z? Here's the problem we're getting ready to face if we don't make an adjustment. We're not going to hit that date. So what's more important to you this time or money? Let's talk about it. We're on the same team. Let's just talk about it. What do we need to do to hit that target date? Or has something shifted in your target date? Has it moved down the road? Right? We're consultants at that point in time. We're not telling them, right? We're working it out together. But that's where coaching happens. Does that make sense? If you know these numbers, what's happening between here, here, and here, but all you need to really focus on at first is that number. Are you hitting your appointment number, yes or no? Now, this number again sounds kind of high, but Lim, this is not based on you. At this point, $20 million production is not generally a solo agent. It usually has some admin in place, and maybe it has a buyer's agent in place. So at least half of this is going out the door to your buyer's agent. A lot of it should be coming in repeat and referral as well, so it may not be as much prospecting. right? So if you focus on if I'm the lead rainmaker trying to generate the business and I'm focusing only on seller listings at that point, can I get one seller appointment a week, basically? If I can do that consistently, and I've got the rest of my team focusing on doing the other half, then I'm gonna make 600 grand revenue and 250 net.
Just to backtrack, how do you get to the 2.7?
That was based on the 144 appointments a year divided by 52 weeks.
Gotcha.
So 2.7 a week, okay? 2.7 appointments per week. Does that number sound insanely huge?
No.
To me, it doesn't. Meeting with 3 potential clients a week, that's really not that big a number, right? But we do have to understand what activity has to drive that, okay? What activity has to drive that?
Are we getting a recording of this or something that I can read?
Yeah, like we're like, get
While you're taping it.
these numbers.
I'm trying to take notes.
Clip it up.
Hopefully this doesn't run out. This is gonna get clipped down into clip versions. This one's
I
being
do have-
recorded.
I do
Right.
have the iPad recording, and you can come in here and we can, yeah.
So I know we're keeping that big recording in office.
The model that we can like keep.
But somebody will go over these again as we get going, like we'll get it all figured out.
Yeah, and just ask me. Hopefully you guys wrote my number down. Call me. We'll walk through it anytime. A lot of these also would be in short little clips. You'll have access to a lot of that stuff within our private group. Okay? But yes, you'll have access to this stuff. So now you can work backwards. Now that's your big goal we just did, right? Your 5-year goal. Now think about your 1 year. What does your 1 year need to look like for you? Just whatever your 1 year goal is. What's your goal for 2026? You're gonna do the exact same process, okay? So if you walked through this, I don't think we need to do it again for your 1 year, unless you want to. Because I want us to get through this by 3 o'clock, okay? So do your 1 year on your own time. It's probably not gonna be 250 net unless you're already close to that number, right? But it may be 100,000, it may be 150, it may be 75, whatever it is. Go through the same process. And I think what you'll see, I mean, let's say it's half that number because you want to make 125 net. You're really going to be looking at about 1 appointment a week to make 100,000 a year, right? Can you? What do you need to do, Samuel, to get 1 appointment a week? That becomes the question he's got to ask himself and answer, right? How do I get 1 new appointment a week? It's not follow-up appointments. It's new.
Wow, social event.
You're a networker, right? You like to go out and meet people.
Yeah.
Right? That's what my wife, she likes to network, right? I used to build my teams on prospecting. So they were built on cold calling, FSBOs, expireds, and circle calls. We had to make 100 dials to have 40 conversations to get 20 appointments, to get 10 taken, to get 4 or 5 sold. Those were our KPIs. When you know that, they've got to just do those activities, right? So you'll start to figure out when you focus on 1 or 2 strategies, that's all you need. 1 or 2 lead generation strategies that you get to know intimately, like I just kind of rattled off about prospecting. Once you know those numbers and you focus on those numbers, then your goal becomes inevitable. It becomes, what's my gap? And we'll hit that here in a minute. Okay, so we've talked about that. We've talked about the standards on the on the $1 million a year income level, right? The 320 deals a year or whatever. We've talked about this example at 250,000 net. You're gonna do your own 1 year. That's what we agreed on, right? You're gonna do your own 1 year. So what are your nuggets? What are the gold nuggets you got out of this exercise of doing the math?
That we need to know our numbers better. We rattle off these numbers so quick and amazing. I've been in the business 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
Most
Can
of us
we
don't look
introduce
at
her?
it. Hi, I'm Jeff.
hi, I'm
Okay.
Alicia.
She worked at Remax with Felicia and I,
Cool.
and
Well, thanks
she's
for coming.
the woman's president, the president of the Women's Council of
Beautiful.
Realtors here locally.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having
So
me.
yeah, most of us don't treat this that level of depth of business, right? Of understanding these. The great thing now is there's so many tools out there that will help convert this information for you if you use it right. Whether it's something like Bold Trail that has texting, dialing built into it, appointment tracking, all these things. It can produce the reports. I used to have the spreadsheet thing going on, and most of us wouldn't do it. But nowadays there's a lot of automations, and even with the AI stuff coming out, I think this is gonna get easier and easier to understand and track, even though we may not be that type of thinker. It's gonna be easier to pull up a report and see and work with somebody that knows what those metrics need to look like and just tell you, oh, here's what you're doing. That's really awesome. Here's a gap. Where are you at? How do you feel about it? Does that make sense? I think it'll get easier, but yeah, knowing your numbers is a big part of elevating this to get what a lot of you talked about earlier, which is freedom. If you ultimately want freedom, you need to start to understand the process of owning a business, because owning the business is what gives you the freedom to where you're not the guy that has to be the doer of all things, right? What else? Any other nuggets?
I just think it's awesome how you have this big goal number, but really when you take the time to break it all down, it's 3 appointments a week.
Yeah. It's palpable at that point, right? You're like, wow, 3 appointments a week. When you focus on that, you realize 3 appointments a week, $600,000 a year. Did you think you could walk in here and say, I can make $600,000 a year? But when you say, can I do 3 appointments a week?
Sometimes the
reframes
big
it.
Paralyzes you.
I kind of like what you brought out about, you know, like you start out as an employee, and then when we're self-employed, we do, so many of us stop right there and go, yeah, we own our business, but you really don't. You're just an employee for yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
3
you gave yourself a
appointments
job.
week it can be hard.
Yeah.
I mean, is what people are not understanding. It can be real hard. I mean, I all day long, guys set these goals. You know, this week I'm gonna do, you know, I'm gonna do 20 appointments.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you're not. Like, I just need you to be a little more realistic in your goal. You can't set so high that you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
And make them like.
It gets self-defeating and
It
self-sabotaging,
is. It ends
right?
up as they
So-
sabotage themselves every single time.
And I want you to think about that too. So again, we're talking 5 years, but my first real coach that delved into mindset, the one that asked me what kind of man I want to be, which just like destroyed me. But that same guy said,
Did you say I'm him already?
yeah. He knew better. He had me nailed. He had me pegged, man. I'd only met him like 3 times, and he had me pegged. So what was interesting though about that also, he looked at my goals, and he said, what you need to understand is this hockey stick, right? So understand your first year, you might say you want 200 this year. You're probably not going to hit 200 this year. Just understand that. You're probably going to fall short. Maybe you'll do 140, 150. Shoot for 200, right? You're probably going to fall short. Year 2 will be better. Year 3 will be even better. And then you'll probably surpass. He said, oftentimes, let me phrase this right. Oftentimes we overestimate what we're going to accomplish in 1 year, but we way underestimate what we can do in 5. So don't be surprised if the stuff you wrote out for your 5-year today, if you do year 1, year 2, and year 3 properly, you may be adjusting your year 5 numbers because you're like, oh, well, that was not as hard as I thought. It's like the guy I told you that went from 100,000 a year to $1 million a year within 4 years. He did not think that was real. Like, he did not think that was a real possibility that he would go there that fast, that big.
And this is the police officer that just wanted to make 50K.
He just wanted to make $50K a year.
3 places.
So he could not be a cop anymore.
Yeah.
That was it, right? But what he did do was he had the willingness to just take the action. He didn't care if he got told no. He didn't care. He's like, I'm just going to do what you say. I got to focus on how many appointments a week. What do I got to do? Right?
And if you do that consistency, that just continues to grow because of all the other stuff that comes in, the referrals that come in, you know, people knowing you.
Yeah.
I mean, it just starts coming in.
My wife's got a great phrase that she says to people that are just getting going, and she said the biggest mistake most of them make is they're secret agents. You can't be a secret agent. The world has to know what you do because they're going to put you in whatever box they know you in today. That's the box you occupy in their brain. So until you give them enough messaging that you've shifted into the real estate master, their person, they're going to think of you in whatever box they have you in. That happened with me directly with that same coach. Man, he changed me in a lot of ways. That same coach, I was doing about 75 deals a year, and he said, what's your database size? And I said, about 1,300 people. He said, you're missing tons of business. I'm like, whatever, dude, I'm pretty good. You know, I had this ego, 30, right? Like, I'm awesome. He said, I want you to call 25% of the people in your database. Just chat with them and see how they're doing. In that, so let's say I called roughly 300 people. I missed 10 deals that year from 300 people. Do the math, means I probably missed 40 deals. That's 50 or 60% more business because I underkilled them with my marketing. They thought of me I got pissed the first time or two, honestly, when I found out they'd done something. I'm like, dude, like this one guy, Chris, what are you thinking, man? He goes, I just wasn't thinking, man. I was at an open house, fell in love with it, I wrote an offer. Oh my God, I really did you a disservice. Not only did you not use me, but you used the listing agent. I'm like, dude, that is so messed up, right? So after about the first 2 or 3 that got me pissed, I decided to get into curiosity. And okay, well, tell me about this. And then I found out it was because they thought of me as the guy they did a happy hour with, or golf with, or church with, or I was in a box, you know? And I had not done a good enough job of shifting that paradigm. It's not only am I that guy, but more importantly, when you think of real estate, you better be thinking of me, right? So we've got to keep that branding going and keep your messaging consistent. That's where systems happen. So if you're a relational person and you want to do some of the math, take whatever number of deals you want closed, multiply it times 10. Okay? So if you want to do 100 deals a year, you need to have 1,000 people in your personal relationship database that know you, that when you call them up, say, hey, this is Jeff. They know who you are, they know what you do, you've got a personal relationship with them. Okay? It's a 10-to-1 ratio. If you're relationship based, 10 to 1. Okay? That's some easy math for you. If you're prospecting based, I kind of gave you those numbers really super fast. If you're internet lead gen based, it's about a 2 to 3% number instead of 10%. So if you want to do 100 deals, you need to have about 3,000 leads. Okay? Yeah. We can talk about any of them, open houses, whatever. But let's do that later, another time, so we can get through all this. But if you guys have specific lead gen strategies you're curious about, excuse me, that you're curious about, and you want to know what the metrics are for that strategy, let me know. I've got them. Okay. So here's the reality: the money is in the lead. That's your job. Your job is lead generation. The money is in the lead. No leads equals no money. Leads are the fuel for your economic engine. No leads, no appointments. No appointments, no agency agreements, etc., etc., etc. The money is absolutely in the lead. That's also your value proposition as you build your team. Not only being able to be a lead generator, but in a perfect world, you teach them how to generate their own because you're duplicating efforts, right? Would you rather have somebody that comes to you and is completely dependent, I need more leads, or you have somebody that balances that out and says, hey, I get it, but I'm willing to go out and generate some of my own too. When you find that person that's willing to do both, but still be part of your vision, that's when you've got a good hire, okay? If they are dependent on you solely for their success, eventually it's going to wear you out because they're always going to be asking and taking and not giving, okay? So when you're thinking about mindset, just think about that, okay? So what we need to talk now is defining the number of leads you need. We're talking about your lead gen model now, okay? So first thing, these are the main areas. First, there's only 2 ways of generating a lead. You trade your time or you trade your money. That's it. If you don't have money, you trade your time. If you don't have time, you got to trade your money. That's it. There's only 2 ways to get a lead in this business. So that looks like prospecting, trading your time, which means phones, door knocking, open houses, networking events. That's you going out there turning over rocks, okay? Marketing is the other, creating inbound, spending your money, whether it's internet lead gen, pay-per-click ads, mailers, right? TV ads, radio, whatever it is. Then you're going to make sure you have your database. So all those leads, you're focused on feeding your database. I'm always focused on putting new people into my database, letting my database workflow nurture those people and move them from that target. Remember my circles that we drew? Move them from random to target to sphere to hopefully core. Your database management's going to do that, okay? And you want at least 3 key pillars in my experience to run a really solid business. And by pillars, if you guys have been in any of my stuff before, that's strategies, okay? When I use the word pillars, it means what are your key strategies? You want at least 3 of them. I recommend one that's a rapid volume maximizer, meaning when you need a check, what can I do to get a check? I need a deal in the next 30 days. What's my system to get a deal in the next 30 days? That's usually prospecting, okay? You need your long game, set it and forgetting. That's your marketing pieces. That's either your pay-per-click ads that are just going all the time. That's your social ads. That is your mailers, farming, okay, stuff like that. That's marketing based, consistent, never stops. It just goes. The only thing you do is you add on. Once you're getting a good return on that investment, you expand it even more. Does that make sense? You're getting a good return. Okay, now I can grow it, and I reinvest, and I keep growing it. And the last piece is your automatic transaction machine. That's what I call your ATM. Your ATM is your automatic transaction machine. That's your sphere. That's the repeat and referral, okay? That's what should every year grow 25 to 30% organically because you've satisfied customers and they're sending you more people. You mentioned that for your roofing stuff, right? So this one is great. It's very predictable. It's that 10% number. If you have 1,000 people in it, you'll get 100 deals. If you have 100 people, you'll get 10 deals, right? It's very consistent. What it's not is it's not predictable as to when it's going to hit. You may get 4 in July, none in March, right? But you can look at your year and say, based on 2026, with the people I have in here that I've been cultivating, I can expect X number of deals this year from my sphere. It just may be in waves, okay? That's why we want this long game too, which is more of a, it helps even out that. But if there's a month where you're like, man, I don't have anything on the books for 60 days, and I'm not comfortable right now because I haven't got my savings in place or my reserves or whatever yet, what are you gonna do today to go generate a lead? Okay? I recommend you have all 3 in your repertoire. Like now that Kathy's really running and we've got her kind of cultural setup with other players that mirror her networking abilities, this is growing and growing, and this is growing too through consistent marketing. But if we ever need this, that's where I hop in, right? Because that's my background as the marketing, the prospecting side. So if we need a deal, I know exactly who to call. I've got the data, I've got the scripts. We can make enough dials to get a listing this week if we need one. Does that make sense? You guys with me on that? Okay. That's what we already talked about. We're always focused on moving them into that core. So, CRM, database, and feed it. What you need to think about is how are you capturing the leads? These are systems, Miss Jerry. That's going to be part of your wheelhouse, right? What are the systems an agent needs in place ultimately to turn this into a business? They need a way to capture the leads. What happens if I get a phone call and it's a lead? What happens with that? What happens if I get an email or a text with a lead? Where does it go? So there are different ways of generating some basic leads. If you don't have a lot now, it's squeeze pages, landing pages, internet data exchange, which is an MLS. It allows us to borrow listings of other agents and market them. Offering free reports, how to buy a home with no money down, foreclosure lists, things like that to get people to raise their hand, right? Squeeze page is generally speaking when you do an MLS type of search and you say 4-bedroom Grain Valley homes under 400,000, click here. Okay, that's a squeeze page. It's more general, right? It's tied into MLS results. When you build that squeeze page, if you've got the right tech stack set up, your right database thing set up, that link stays live forever, so it's updated in real time. So once you create it, it's done. And you can create 30 of those, for example, and market them out there. A landing page is going to be more specific, maybe sign up for my deal of the week, right? Sign up for my free weekly foreclosure list, something like that. It's more targeted. It may be sign up for my home buyer seminar, okay? Whatever. That's a landing page. Then when you get the leads, even at Sphere, you want to put them into your system and you want to have smart campaigns with automation, meaning basically you don't want to have to touch it after you put them in, right? You want the system to do the work, and whenever they take an action, like they click on it, they open the link, they do whatever, you want the system to notify you that they took an action. So then you can react to that action. You know what they're doing. You know their behavior. If they clicked on that listing search, what should you do? I'd reach out to them.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, hey, I saw you're looking for homes in Grain Valley. What are you doing this weekend? That's it. It's not rocket science. It's follow-up, right? What are you doing? I've got time on Saturday, like from 12 to 3. You want to go check out some houses? Right, that's it. If they favorited a house, what do you do? Hey, I saw you favorited 123 Main Street. What are you doing Saturday? Or whatever, you know what I mean? That's it. It's the follow-up. So you want the system to do that, and you want it to continually drip on them with little touches. And then you want to make sure you've got the ability to set in task reminders. Like if you told me you'll call them back on next Tuesday, you want the ability to put that in your contact system so that on Tuesday when you turn on your computer, it says, hey, don't forget you need to call Bob today. And here's your notes from your last conversation, right? So you need that, and you need client servicing systems. So when you're actively working with a seller or actively working with a buyer, what's your customer journey look like? What are your touch points? What are your service processes, right? When do you call them? How often do you call them? Do you send them thank yous along the way? Do you send them market updates along the way? Right? What do you do to communicate to them so you deliver that value and earn the right for repeat and referral business? Okay. Then what happens after they close? Most agents drop them forever. They don't hear from them again. Statistically, NAR did a study, it's been a few years ago now, They did a study and it said, how many of you would use the same agent you used last time? And the stat was pretty good. It was like 80 or 85% said they would use that same agent again. Statistically, the number that do is 17% actually use them. Why is that?
They don't know their name.
They don't know their name. They haven't stayed in touch for 7 years. Sometimes that agent's out of the business because they're one of the statistics, right? But a lot of it's because they just dropped it. So one of the things I want you to think about, anytime you do a deal, take what we call the orphan client and put them in your database. Just plan on the fact that the other side's probably going to drop the ball. So if you had a listing that sold, that buyer needs to go in your database and get marketed to forever, because your name was attached to that deal too. And oftentimes the agent that represented the buyer is not going to stay in touch. So when they sell that, who gets it?
How does that generally kind of fare with either that buyer or that?
I'm not worried about it.
Not worried about it?
They'll tell you if
I
they're
use
upset, I
social
promise.
media. I mean, I get a lot of my customers that end up telling me about their neighbor or their cousin, their brother or whatever, because we're Facebook friends. Once I'm doing deals and doing their house, I find them on Facebook or they find me on Facebook or they pop up on my thing and we just become friends, and I see things about their kids graduating. I make sure that I like it. You know, I keep them in the back of my mind.
Social's really good. It's made a lot of things easier. We still do a lot of mail stuff too. So because I don't have maybe their phone number in the beginning. I don't have their email, right? I don't have some of those things, but I know what they just bought or sold, right? I've got tax records. I've got some forwarding information. So an easy thing to do that just is not threatening or invasive is like market snapshots. Right, so a monthly market snapshot, what's going on in 65807 zip code this month, and setting that up with my CRM, which pulls those reports automatically, and it just goes out and it's sent out to them. But every single month, what are they seeing with economic reports on real estate? It's me. So when they look at selling, if they haven't been in touch with other people, who's top of mind?
Do you do that through the actual mail because you don't have their email address? Nice.
Yeah, they just go into it and set up, it's integrated, the database is integrated with the mail house, right? So it gets just drop shipped basically.
And then basically, if you do a good job keeping in contact with your client, they might get that stuff, but it's like, yeah, but you're not my person. You know?
Yeah.
So.
It's up to the existing agent to keep the business, right? I'm never positioning it against that other agent. They're just getting reports or whatever from me consistently, and odds are, I've coached tons of, even top producers, they don't stay in touch with their sphere. They don't stay in touch with their past clients. It's the most low-hanging fruit for most agents I coach is just implement these systems, and they see their business double or triple.
What's the referral reward system?
So, kind of like we talked about earlier, if that client sends you, or not even a client, if that person in your sphere gives you an introduction to another party thinking of buying or selling, don't wait until it closes. Don't tie their thank you into that deal closing or not. They did their job with the introduction, right? So are you sending them a coffee card, or are you sending them just even a thank you note? Or are you sending them out to lunch or a date night or whatever? We kind of had an escalating deal that was like, our first referrals, usually I just have a bunch of coffee cards, right? And a bunch of pre-written notes, honestly. And I'd just write in their name. But I'd write their name, drop that card in on my desk, it'd go in the mail as soon as I got the referral. But if they become a core advocate, those thank yous get better and better. It's usually at that point, you've gotten to know them well enough. Usually, you know things they like. You know their favorite restaurant. You know things like that. So look at a gift card to Salvatore. Right? So here, go enjoy date night on us. You've been a wonderful friend to our business. It's not even saying a referral, right? It's like you've been a wonderful friend. You've supported our business for a number of years. Go have a date night on us. Right?
We had a pie day here last week, and it was my first experience because I'm not an agent. But I think Melanie will tell you, like the conversations I heard that day for people coming to pick up a free $5 pie were amazing. And I think Melanie pretty much, can I tell that, Melanie, what your outcome was?
Yeah.
Or you can tell it.
Go ahead.
Well, she pretty much has something set up for every month next year based on the conversation she had that day.
I've got about
It was
12,
so good.
12 to 15 between Pie Day here and then I did the country store, because I have so many clients that are towards Warrensburg, Clinton.
Yeah.
So we did a customer appreciation and, if you're my real estate client, come get your pie.
Yeah.
Well, people want to know how to get the pie, and I said, you just
transact, buy or sell real estate or refer me somebody, and next year you'll get a pie. I got 3 names.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was like every person that came in literally had something they needed to talk about real estate related.
Yeah.
I have to put my mom in a nursing home. I need to move. We're getting ready to do this. I mean,
They love
it
the
was
pies.
incredible.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
love the pies.
Yeah.
Over an hour.
Yeah,
We're testing rolls this year, like
Yeah.
baked rolls from the Breadsmith, which is a
yeah,
home baked kind of store in Springwater.
Yeah.
It's that's the after Christmas this year. So
yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of a one-to-many relationship, but it is like a referral reward in a way. It's client appreciation, and that's part of it. That's the constantly being in front of them, being top of mind, having a real estate opportunity with it. The referral reward is more directly, not like a plan monthly. It's like when that happens, X happens, right? As soon as they give me a name, they get this, right? So it's kind of Pavlovian, right? It's like ringing the bell, salivate, come on, right? And they don't know it's necessarily going to happen, so they get it. No one, how many people are still sending blue ink note cards? Very few. They get an actual, really handwritten note card, signed, delivered with a little gift. It's just a nice touch. We've started doing that with cooperating agents on deals we do now too. How many of you are sending thank you notes to the other agents doing the deal with you? If you're not, you're missing the boat because nobody else is doing it really, right? It creates conversation when they're not happy where they're at. Who's top of mind?
Well, and future referral partners if they get out of business.
Yeah, you can take over their database right at that point. So here's what I recommend you do when it comes to sphere of influence and target marketing and new leads. Okay, so first is 2x4. So this is kind of like my idea of like building a house, right? So 2x4s. So 2x4s cements the new relationship. You get a brand new lead, a brand new contact. You want to do it basically twice a week for 4 weeks. Okay, twice a week for 4 weeks. That's where you start to make the paradigm shift of, oh, hey, I met you through Bob versus, oh, you're a professional real estate agent that I should think about, right? So you're helping make that paradigm shift from wherever you met. It's solidifying who you are and what you do. That's a mixture of emails, phone calls. There was 2 phone calls in there, okay? So 2 phone calls, a couple of handwritten notes, a couple of emails. It's really not that tough. You're just gonna set it up in your database. I wanna hit them twice a week for 4 weeks, okay? A market report, so you get them a market report, month 1, right? You get them a couple of phone calls, that's 3 touches, a couple of emails, you're up to 5 or 6 touches, right? A couple of texts or a couple of social media touches, hey. That's all it is, right? It's just doing it when you get that new person. And then twice a month for life, basically. Twice a month for life, okay? So twice a month for life, what that looks like for us is it's the market snapshot. So they're getting the data specific, real estate specific economic report for their zip code. That goes out. We also have done newsletters in the past that are just generic newsletters, right? But they're engaging. They try to hit the different personality types, something economic, something heartfelt, right? There are companies that write those. Now with AI, you can just have AI write you a newsletter. That can go out. And then, so 1 hard copy a month and 1 email a month. That's what that is, okay? So we managed it the 1st and the 15th is what we did. The 1st, we targeted sending out our mailers on the 1st of the month, and on the 15th, we sent out our email blast. That's it, okay? Quarterly call plan. So this, what happens is these things do your marketing for you and creates the conversation, the branding for you on the back end. Okay, it starts to solidify again who you are and what you do. The phone call is where the magic happens, right? Because you don't have to spend as much energy saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Remember I'm in the business? Yeah, because you talk to me twice a month, I get crap from you, right? I know you're in the business. People will not ask you to take off that list. I've had 2 people in the last 5 years, and it's because, like one of them specifically said, I'm at my lake house 2-3 weeks out of the month now, I'm not even home, I'm just trying to get rid of all my mail, right? So he hasn't stopped the email campaigns, like, just, dude, I'm gonna use you, right? Just, I don't need to keep getting mail, right? Just stop the mail. But that's really it. Most people don't do it. You're gonna keep sending out forever. And then the call plans, I recommend 2 different phone calls. 2 different types. 1 call is literally relationship based and that's it, okay? Shannon, how you doing? It's been a long time, I haven't talked to you for a couple months. Noticed on Facebook you took a trip to Cabo, how was it? I've been thinking about going there, right? Tell me about it. And you just have a conversation with them. Ultimately, they're gonna ask you probably about business, how's it going? And say, it's great, man, things are great, right? That's about it. Is there anything I can do for you? But you're not diving into the business conversation, it's about strengthening the relationship. The next phone call is business, and it's all business. The next phone call is, this is where I think a lot of coaches screw this up. They're like, do only the relationship, and then on the back end say, oh, by the way, who do you know thinking of buying or selling? You do that for a couple of years and like, dude, just tell me what you want. You know what I mean? The next time you call, like I know you're calling for business. If you take my approach and you're really focusing one call just on the relationship, the next one is where you can go direct. And I say go direct. Say, hey, here's the deal. You got 5 minutes. Because today's call is about business. You have 5 minutes to talk business with me. That's how I start the call. And I pause and let them wrap their hand. They'll tell me, they'll wrap their head around yes or no. Do I have 5 minutes to talk business? If they do, great, awesome. If they say no, I say, okay, cool. Sam, when's the time I can call you later this week that you have available to talk about 5 minutes of business with me? I'll call you back then, right? If he says he's got 5 minutes, I say, awesome, Sam, I appreciate you taking the time. Here's the deal. I don't know if you know, but XYZ, whatever it is, right? It's a crazy hot market right now. It's a feeding frenzy right now. We've sold absolutely everything we have. Who do you know thinking about selling a house right now? Or, hey, did you know rates have dropped down to 6%? It's really opened up affordability a lot. Whatever the conversation is, it's about business, and it's who do you know, right? This is straight up business. Now, what you can do is you can say, people have done it different ways, but they may say, hey, Sam, this is Jeff Bonham. I really want to catch up with you and hear about how your family and everything, how everybody's doing, and all of the, how are the kids and how are the dogs. But the reason I'm calling you today is for business. Do you have 5 minutes, right? And so you do that. And then on the back end, if they don't think of anybody or they do, then you can say, cool, I appreciate that. How's everything going? All right. It's the reverse of the old way of doing a relationship, then sneaking in and asking for business. Ask for business and then end the call on a relationship. Does that make sense? That's where the magic happens, though. That's where the referrals happen. That's where you get the immediate opportunity to start servicing somebody. Then I recommend at least a couple of client appreciation events a year, like you're talking about, the pie giveaway, right? Or a day at the movies where you run out the movie theater, or a family day at the park where you have a bounce house and you have a cookout. Whatever it can be, it doesn't matter. But that's kind of that one-to-many relationship where you're there and they're coming to you, right? And you're giving thank yous. We used to do ours, we don't do this anymore, but when we had the Florida team, we did a couple different ones. We'd have like a wine event a year, and the distributor would provide the wine because they're promoting whatever wines they want, so we got those comps. And then people would buy the wine inevitably, so they were happy because they'd buy a bottle or two to go. The place, we'd get like an art gallery or something to host it on an off night. We'd maybe have a girl that does chair massages that wants more clientele set up. So it was almost a free event, but it was a cool event. And the other thing is like those park days are really good, or we do it at a restaurant and we do an end of year or beginning of the year. It doesn't matter when you do it. And we do raffles and door prizes, but kind of like what Melanie was saying, you get a pie if. You could buy raffle tickets, but if you did a deal or gave us a referral, you got X number of raffle tickets free. You know, it's like, hey, did you, oh, well, let me look at the list. Oh, you did give us a referral last year. Cool, here's 10 extra tickets, right? People in line and everybody are like, hey, man, you know, if they didn't give you one, that's just the deal. Just you want more tickets next year, just, you know, give us a referral. Yeah.
Is this a different strategy for each one of those previous buckets, or is this the same strategy for any new contact?
Any new lead's going to go through this immediate indoctrination sequence, basically. You need to help them shift in and understand your brand and who you are. Then you're always going to maintain them on that yearly. The quarterly plan doesn't necessarily have to happen with a cold lead unless they've shown some interest, but definitely any warm, hot lead or sphere is on the quarterly call plan. The other stuff you can just kind of set and forget, right? Your farming, if you're doing direct mail, your direct mail is usually just once a month on a direct mail campaign to a neighborhood or whatever. But as soon as they reach out, they go through the sequence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So good question. And then that's what that is. Your target market's once a month. Okay. Always. So here's some of the stats based on different things. Your sphere of influence, 10 to 20%. If you're really good at it, you've been rocking your sphere for a long time, you're gonna get closer to 20% out of it. So 1,000 people will get you 200 deals a year, okay? Your target market is about 2%, meaning a farm, internet leads, things like that. So it's easy for you to figure it out. If you wanna do 320 deals a year, only working in relationships, you need a database of almost 2,000 people, okay? But again, by the time you're doing this, is that you doing that? No. So like my wife focuses on about 450 people in her database, maybe 500 now, I don't know, 400 to 500 people. If there were 5 of her or 4 of her, that's the database, right? If there are 4 or 5 Kathys that are good at networking and relationship building, then all of a sudden, in theory, there's enough in that database properly worked to do 320 deals a year. Does that make sense? So it becomes math for you, right? Where is your gaps? If you're only doing mailers or farming or whatever, or internet leads, you're going to need to do 16,000 leads a year to do 320 deals, okay? If you're doing a blend of it, half and half. So what are your lead strategies? How do you drive your business? And then plug your numbers in and then figure out with that strategy, it should and generally be marketing based and prospecting enhanced. Now, if you don't have money, you've got to trade your time. That's it. We've said that 100 times today, right? Trade your time or money. Once you start having some money, you're wanting to automate systems, you're wanting the branding to happen with or without you, and then you do like those quarterly phone calls to enhance the results, okay? That's when you do it. But generally speaking, spend your money, create the inbound, plus it by doing some outbound touches, whether that's open houses, networking events, your phone calls. But generally speaking, you want to have inbound. And then your assumptions, we're going to assume you're going to spend about 10% of your money on lead generation. And you're going to spend about 60 cents or so per contact. That's your expenses. But that goes into your cost of sale we did earlier, okay guys? I'm not trying to throw stuff in. I just want you to know there are numbers for everything. We've tracked all these numbers, right? So when you look at your business, we know what it needs to look like. The beauty of this is if you're spending $2 a touch, then we can talk about why. What are you doing? Is it getting you twice the results? If not, we can scale back. We can find different vehicles, right? Different things along that line. This can be as much as 20%. What that means is of gross, right? So that 600,000 number we used earlier, plan on having a marketing budget of about 60,000 a year. That's part of that number already, okay? If you're in a rapid growth mode where you're adding on some new campaigns, it may be as high as 20% during a heavy growth period. But in a stabilized, steady Eddie approach, about 10% of your money is going toward marketing. So just think about that as you bring in a check and you make $8,000. Start thinking about taking $800 out of that check and setting it up over here in an operating account. It's hard to do. It's hard to be disciplined with it because you want to go spend that $8,000. Take $800 and put over there. Okay. Reinvest in your business. So your sphere of influence, basically all this says you're going to spend about $100 for a deal. So with your sphere, you might only spend $40,000 to make $1 million if it's all sphere based. That's ridiculously cheap when you think about it, right? That's 4 or 5%. If you're doing marketing, you're going to spend a couple $100,000 a year, but to make $1 million. So is your return there? Your return's there, right? So again, all these habits. So just think about how you want to blend your business and what it's going to look like. Here's some basic numbers. If this is your number, we've already hit them for your own stuff, but that's just another snapshot of it. And understand that the goal is to put more and more yards with your sign in it, right? You want more and more signs out there because they create inbound opportunities from drive-bys, from single property websites, from putting that listing on social, right? From being on the different listing portals like Zillow and Trulia and all that. That's a lot of just automatic marketing as soon as you take a seller-based listing. Well, you're talking with Felicia, and I think she's getting somewhere like 100 or 150 leads a week right now just because of her listing inventory. Now we're talking about how you round that out with like inside sales or whatever to follow up and convert those leads. But she's not able to do it, right? That's the power of having the listing. The way I kind of look at seller-based listings is when you think about it, would you rather own Walgreens or shop at Walgreens? I'd rather own Walgreens, right? But the shoppers are coming to me. That's what a listing is. You've got, how many agents are in the greater KC area? 10,000, 15,000? I don't know. They're all shopping your listings. Does that make sense? Okay. So for you, for your numbers, for these number of closings down here, how many closings did you need in your business? Did you have a question?
No.
How many closings did you need on your business plan?
I needed 33 listings, 29 buy sides.
Okay, so 33 and 29. Okay, so 33, 29, that's 62, right? So if you're doing Sphere, basically take that times 10. You need a database of 620 people that are you're in relationship with to get 62 deals a year, okay? If you are doing it from more targeted marketing, you take it times 50, because that equals 2% conversion rate. So you need, whatever that is, 3,100. You need a target market of 3,100. That could be 3 neighborhoods that are planned developments, right, or whatever, that you really start to master over time. It can be demographics, it can be networking group, it can be attorneys, it can be probate, right? It can be whatever it is, but that's it. It could be internet leads. So that would be, if you're doing internet lead gen, that would be roughly 250 leads per month. Okay, what's it cost for you to do that, to build that? And I would say, I have found, especially when you're growing, that's nice to run both goals at the same time, because worst case, you should hit your overall main goal. Okay, so if you underperform on your sphere because you're just starting to rebrand with them and make that paradigm shift, year one, you may not hit that 10%. Does that make sense? It may be 5 or 6. And if you still want to make sure you absolutely hit this, then you may want to blend it with some of this. Does that make sense? To where you really are like, man, I'm going to hit my 62 this year. Or I'm going to prospect like crazy to hit my 62 this year and make the difference up. But if you really want to make sure you hit that, and we can work on your personal numbers, just give me a call. I'm happy to do that. Okay? So do you do it all from Sphere, for relationship marketing? You don't do it from cold leads like the guy I was talking about down in Florida that just didn't like people. He just did tons of Craigslist ads, right? That's fine, whatever. So he drove it in. Or you do a combination of them. And what's your prospect mix? Is it 50-50 or not? So here's your own gap. This is what you want to figure out. So right now, you want to figure out this gap. So what's your goal number need to be, right? What's your current number and what's the gap? So how many people are in your database? So it looks like this. I mean, goal, right? Current, and then gap. This is called a gap analysis. So if you've got 300, I mean 620 is your goal in this case, and you've got 300, then you figure out your gap. You're 320 short. That's your gap. So then your business planning says, how and by when am I going to make up that difference? Okay, how and by when? That's all it is business planning. Okay, so how and by when do I make that up? So if I've got to add 320 people and I want to do it within a year, how many people do I add a week? Well, in this case, it'd be like divide that by 52, right? That equals roughly 6 or less than 6, right? If I want to do it in 6 months, how many do I need to add a week? 12, right? You see how it breaks it down, kind of like the idea of appointments. You start to break it down and say, well, that, man, I feel like that's a huge number. Not really. It's like meeting one person a day. Can I meet one person a day? So you see with business planning and growing and scaling, our job is to reframe everything into the stupidest, lowest denominator we possibly can that makes sense for us and that's actionable, right? We can wrap our head around, oh, I got to meet one person a day. That's it. Or I've got to make sure my team meets one person a day. Or 2 people a week, because I've got 3 people. Does that make sense? Then it becomes so easy and tangible to say that, and then in your weekly meeting with your people, or with yourself, or with your coach, the question becomes, how many people did we add to the database this week? What was our goal? How many did we add? Does that make sense, guys? So again, this is taking you, I know it's so frustrating sometimes, because we don't naturally operate this way, but this is the opportunity you guys are sitting on. If you shift your mindset just a little bit from being a solopreneur to becoming a business owner, all you've got to start to understand are these weekly numbers and have a little bit of accountability. Am I doing it or not? If I'm not doing it, what's getting in the way? And it's not out of judgment. It's just out of really what's getting in the way. What's stopping me from getting that? Am I missing a who, a how, or a what? That's always the answer. Do I need somebody else on my team, or do I need a coach to keep me accountable? Do I need a peer partner that keeps me accountable? By the way, it's not going to be your spouse. Trust me.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah.
Okay? That doesn't work, because then you just know what buttons to push. You know what I'm saying? So, but that could be an example of a who that's missing, right? It's not necessarily a team member. It could be a coach or a peer partner. The next thing is, what systems maybe do I'm not doing right now? Or could it be that my conversion rates are off and I need to step up my how, right? There's a flaw. There's a breakdown in my opportunities. Does that make sense? Okay? You guys are also close to 7 figures. You don't even know. So, do you have your someday numbers kind of worked out? We did those, right? What about your someday lead gen? Do you have your numbers that you need for your database now after that? How many deals you're gonna do? Take it times 10 if you're doing a relationship. How many, if you're not a relationship person, take that number times 50 and then do your gap. How are you gonna fill it? Okay? So we're not gonna take a break because we're pushing through. At 20 minutes, I try to respect time. Okay. So your budget, how much you're gonna spend. Again, red light, green light, don't just throw a bunch of money at it, right? Hold your money accountable, get a return on that money, then reinvest. That's what a business does. That's a smart business. That's a sustainable type of business, and stick to your budget. Okay, so make money before you spend it. Don't front load it. Unless you got a ton of money just sitting there ready to spend, don't front load it. Start spending in increments, hold it accountable, get results. Then once you know you've got a system worked out, sure, scale it, right? But try not to spend a bunch at first, okay? Evaluate the results, set up a time period of analysis, and if there isn't a result, stop spending the money.
Can you go back one? I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. So make money, minimize startup costs, generate revenue first, okay? Get money coming in first, then hold it accountable, track it. Where did my lead come from? Do you ask your people how they found out about you? That's number one. If there's fear, obviously you know, right? But if it's not, if somebody calls you up, or if they bump into you, or they call off a sign, do you know that they called off a sign? Do you know that they called off your mailer? Do you know that they saw your Facebook post and just picked up the phone? Or if they sent you an email, how they get your information, right? Track your results so you know how to spend it. And then stop the bleeding if
If
it's
they
not
want you to
working.
get on what apps, say screw you.
Yeah, watch on those. Yeah, say, that's not gonna work for me
Yeah.
today, right? But here are the basic percentages we talked about. When you're a solopreneur, doing 6 million by yourself or with a small admin team is very reasonable in volume. You're gonna spend, about 20,000 or so in cost of sales. You're gonna have a gross profit of 159. Maybe you'll spend 60. You'll make about 100,000. I really think you can make 100,000 a year on about 150,000 revenue. I think you can be more profitable because you're running lean as a solo agent. That's in this market, that's 20 deals roughly, right? 350. Solo agent can do 20 deals a year. I will say this, once you start consistently doing 2 to 3 deals a month, that's when I really want you to look at starting to leverage, because that shows you've got enough consistency and lead generation capability to generate 2 to 3 deals a month. And that if you were to free up all the rest of your time and just focus on doing more of those activities, you could do more of those closings. Does that make sense? Get rid of all your paper, get rid of your marketing, get rid of some of your follow-up, automate some of your systems, have somebody maybe on a one-off basis setting up your database properly. Just make things are working right? And then you can duplicate that and pretty quickly get to 10 million. You're gonna have maybe some staff here, probably not a buyer's agent yet. Then you get into this 15 to 40 million, you're gonna have more of your sales team helping you out. So the percentages change, right? But you just figure out where you wanna be on that scale. That's all there is to it. And then plug in the numbers we've talked about. Does that make sense? Where do you wanna be? Okay? But about 40 million will make you 500,000-600,000 a year. Okay? In this market, that's about 130 deals, which may sound like a lot, but if we break that down, it's really not, right? 130 deals a year is like a couple appointments a week, 3-4 appointments a week, 4 probably. Okay. Keep a budget and examine it. I'm so bad about buying subscription model things, right? So I'm like, it's only 20 bucks a month. Oh, it's only 60 bucks a month. And you're like, wow, it's like $2,000 just went out the door. And you don't even think about it because all these little things, right? So really keep an eye on that. Look at what's going out the door. Is it really producing anything for you or not? And just stay in touch with it. You sooner than later find a bookkeeper, okay? A book, not an accountant necessarily, a bookkeeper that can give you that can access like QuickBooks and help you set up QuickBooks or something. And then that way they give you like a 30-day P&L report. It'll maybe cost you $150-200 a month to have a bookkeeper. And then you'll understand, you're on a monthly snapshot, how are you doing? What's the health of your business? And you'll see your spending. And that's really eye-opening, okay? So look at a bookkeeper and try to get a 30-day P&L at the worst case, okay? As you get bigger and bigger, you're gonna focus on all of these things. So these are things you asked about earlier, basically. What is cost of sale? Cost of sale is company split, what you pay the broker, right? Any outgoing referral fees, Do you have a listing specialist on your team because you're big enough that you can't service all the listings anymore? You need help with that. Do you have a buyer specialist? They're usually on a split. Salary, a lot of listing agents I know, they're on salary. They maybe pay 80 to 100 grand a year, and maybe some bonus on profit on the back end for driving results. But by the time you outsource listings, your team's pretty massive. Where you say, I've got so much money coming in, I just want to buy back time. And your systems are generating a lot of listing appointments at that point. So you're just teaching somebody how to go do a presentation. Does that make sense? So that's more salary based. The biggest expenses on your operating expenses are salaries and lead generation. That makes up 20% of the 29%, right? It's a lot of it's in that when you get big, okay? So this is just more budget benchmarks. I will say this before we go too much on budgets. We don't need to go through that too detailed yet. Most of you aren't at that point. If you are, let me know and we'll look at your budget numbers, okay? But I will say this, when it comes to hiring talent, I want to challenge you a little bit. A lot of us try to get the most out of the least, right? And we try to pay as little as possible and get somebody to take some work off our load. Every market has different metrics, but your market is probably a little different than Springfield's. But what I've found is there's a difference between a term that's been passed around for years called cul-de-sac talent versus capacity talent. So you're in real estate, right? So what is a cul-de-sac in real estate? Think about the definition of the cul-de-sac. What is it?
It's a circle.
It's a circle. It's an end. It's a dead end. Yeah, it's a dead end, right? It's a pretty place to live sometimes, right? But it's not taking you anywhere, right? It's cul-de-sac. So there's cul-de-sac talent and there's capacity talent. Capacity talent will grow with you or even push you to grow, okay? The difference in pay between those two is nominal. It's about 30%, okay? So let's say I don't know what a decent administrative pay would be here. In Springfield, I could get capacity, cul-de-sac talent for 35 to 40 a year. That could run and manage my business, maybe even 30. That I could hire, they could come in, they could work their hours. Hey!
There she is!
You're getting the good stuff now.
There she is.
Hello.
Hey, come on down. We're about to wrap up, but I'm glad you're here. So your cul-de-sac will be about, in my market, 30 to 40, okay? But if I pay them closer to 48 or 50, which really isn't that big of a bump in my big operation picture, like less than $1,000 a month difference or $1,000 a month, I want to get somebody in my market that's talent, right? That's good, that they're already probably running operations somewhere else, or they're a VP at some bank, or they've got administrative clarity, detail, right? And if I plug them into my model, they're going to do about 1.5 times the workload of the person that's cul-de-sac talent. So I'm paying maybe 20 or 30% more, but I'm getting more than double the productivity out of that one person.
Isn't there something too that's based on, like, if you hire a good person, they give you so much back in referral?
Well, through the journey, I don't know the numbers on that, but yeah, I've experienced that. Because again, if they're on your team and they're having any client interaction or system integration or management of that, it's closing more deals. They're creating the efficiency because you weren't keeping up with it to begin with, right? Or you weren't delivering on your promises. And they're going behind you. Like even a lot of the seminars we do now on investing, last night I had like 18 or 19 clients that were wanting to learn how to invest in real estate. I had a teammate that were with me, and about every other time I'd look at him like, did you get that? Because I would say something, and actually Samuel reminded me of something I said I was going to do last time I was here, and I didn't do it. That was give everybody access to that coaching course. So I've got to do that because I don't have my note taker. I don't have my person there next to me, right, reminding me, telling me what I need to do. But when you've got that person will definitely increase your business, right? And especially capacity, because capacity talent is not just going to be focused on getting through the checklist. Capacity talent's not only going to do that, but they're the type of person that's analyzing the workflow to begin with. They're going to see efficiency or modifications that can be made, and they're going to push you, and they're going to say, I think we could do more if we did this, right? And if you really want to drive it even more, is not only give them a little more pay, but time into bonus, profit sharing, things like that. If you say, hey, I'm here, I'm making this number right now, I'm making 200, but I want to make 400. If you get me there, I'll pay you X percent of the growth. Then you've got somebody on the same side of the ledger too on top of it, right? So there are lots of ways to do that, but understand that when you're hiring, don't just look for the cheapest person that can get that job done. Look for somebody that's got a background and trajectory of growth in their own career And that gets it when you talk to them, right? That you feel have that ability. There's a whole vetting process that I can teach sometime on hiring. That's an afternoon course when you guys are ready for that. But how to hire a first assistant and get the right assistant and pay them well, and how to structure compensation, how to deal with training and accountability and all those things, workflows, what exactly should they do every day, okay? That's kind of what this goes into a little bit on team structure, but your someday model is looking at that. So here's really where this comes from. The Millionaire Agent book. It's been around for 20-something years now, 22 years. And it hasn't changed much. This is really what, you're gonna do whatever you can on your own. Get to 2 to 3 deals a month, okay? Once you do that, you're gonna look at bringing your first assistant. You hire administrative help first. Too many people hire on other agents first. They bring on a buyer's agent and showing agents and all of that. What we've discovered is what you're doing is you're diluting the customer actually experience and deliverabilities and the service level. You're creating more paper, more contracts, but you're not servicing very well. And so you're not gonna get the repeat and referral because the experience wasn't that great. They didn't get communicated to regularly, they didn't get their documents on time, whatever it is, right? And it just is watering it down. So hire an assistant first. Then you're gonna get to the point where you need that split into 2 roles. Somebody does marketing, somebody does transactions. When you first get going, I recommend you get a transaction coordinator, because that person, there are so many companies, and I'll say this because I own one too. I own a transaction coordination company. You don't have to use mine, but you can hire them as you need them. You don't have to hire a salaried person. You can say, I'll give you $250 when this closes, and I need help on these 3 files. I don't need them on everything I got going, right? So you can kind of start handing some things off as you get busy or overwhelmed, or dip your toes into outsourcing and trusting people. But you're gonna do that. That'll double your business right here. When you get rid of all your paperwork and marketing, you'll double your business if you're using that time to do what? Generate more business, right? If you're doing whatever it is, following up on leads, extending your network, building your sphere deeper, all of that. More open houses, whatever. Then at a certain point, you're gonna need to bring on that buyer's agent where you're gonna focus solely on listings. That's gonna keep growing it. You're gonna bring in more and more listings. You're gonna need more and more agents to help service that, so on and so forth. And at some point over here on the admin, you're gonna bring in inside sales, outside sales, phone-based prospecting, if that's your business model. But either way, you're gonna have a marketing person, a listing manager, a transaction manager, right? And all the way down to some point where you literally replace yourself. You step out, you hire a CEO. The team runs without you, and you pop in, like my friend I was telling you about in Springfield. He maybe is a Zoom call a week with his team, doing 500 deals a year, right? So you can build that business up to that point. But that's the model, right? And it's very specific. Start with admin. And on these different production numbers, you're really only gonna need, on the numbers we talked about over here, you don't need a big team. Right, again, if this was 3 appointments a week. 3 appointments a week, if all your systems were running really, really well, how many appointments are you gonna be able to do yourself? How many inbound referrals are you gonna get every week? Well, I mean, if you've got 600 people in your database, that's gonna drive plenty. Honestly, we've already figured that out. If you don't, you're gonna have to supplement it with something, okay? Is that open houses? How many open houses do you need to do to generate 1 lead? All depends. How well you market the open house. But we average 2 leads per open house that we do, okay? So if we need more leads, what do? We throw an open house. Strategically marketed properly, driven traffic to it, right? So once you start to understand these metrics, does that make sense? Like, it's all very scientific. It can be boring in the math. I don't want to lose you in all the math, but I do want to simplify it and let you guys know that I don't care where you want to go. If it's your 1.4, if it's your 600, if it's anybody else's 300, whatever that number was, those are all very, very doable. But you need to stair step back to where you are today with your 2026 numbers and say, okay, let's do the math now for that. And once I become a rock star at that, and you're taking the right action and you're doing a weekly appointment or whatever it says you need to do, by taking that action, you're going to figure out what works for you. You're going to figure out your culture. You're going to figure out your scripts. You're going to figure out your marketing. And then once you have that figured out, all it is about reinvesting and duplicating. That's it. It's not rocket surgery. That's it. That's all it is, guys. So you got to figure out where it is, figure out your hiring path, administrative help first. That's it. We'll stay there. Where are you today? Where do you want to be? And then who is capable of taking you there? When you start thinking about this, I want to challenge you too, as you're thinking about turning into a business owner someday. You may not need any of those people today on where you're at in your growth plan, right? Especially being new, right? You don't need all this today, right? But what I want you to start thinking about is who is talent around you that's maybe missing an opportunity. You don't need them today, but maybe in 2 years you do. How do you start building your bench for the future? Because even when you hire, you still need to always be building your bench because life happens. People get sick, their spouse gets a job transfer, they get burnt, they just change their mind, they go a different passion, whatever it is. So not only are you focused on maybe listing houses and meeting buyers, keep your eye out. The next time you're like, I don't know, you're at your chiropractor, who's running their front desk? Are they amazing and warm and charming? Do they seem to have it all together? You need to get in a relationship with them. What about your waiter at the last restaurant you went to? Should they be thinking about a different career? Is sales something they'd be amazing at? Are you talking to them about that? Are you building relationships with them on that? You may be amazed at how you build that, and they're in your database now, but create an extra little tag that says, right, future buyer agent, right, future admin, so that you know when you're ready at that point and you've been in dialogue with them, it's a very easy conversation, right? Have you ever thought about, do you love your position? Is it taking you where you want to go? We should grab lunch. That's it, guys. And you always are replacing and growing. Okay, so I think that's really the main stuff. I don't want to bore you with a lot of this stuff because it's about 3 o'clock. But just so you understand this is kind of part of that 10X conversation. Understand 20% of your actions drive your revenue, drive 80% of it. Are you getting bogged down in stuff? Most of us get bogged down in stuff. Most of us get bogged down in trying to make the perfect website or create the perfect mailer or whatever. Stop it, right? Stop it. Take the action, make the contacts, have the conversations. If you do nothing else, if you try to make 20 conversations a day, it may sound like a lot, but I'm just telling you, if nothing else, you can be horrible at the conversation. If you have 20 conversations a day in real estate, Monday through Friday, you'll make upwards of 150 grand a year. 20 conversations. It's the consistency of it, even if you suck at everything else. Okay? So if you want to be like, I don't know what to do, go have 20 conversations today. That's it. I don't care if it's at the gas station, it's at the grocery store, it's at your massage therapist, whatever. Having conversations is the answer to that. As you get better and more efficient, it doesn't take 20. Right? But if you're not efficient and you're just figuring it out, that'll get it there. Focus on leads, right? Leads to appointments, to listings, and then as you get better, you're going to leverage it off. So that's it, and that's the who, how, and what we talked about. So I threw a lot of stuff at you. I think all the rest of this, honestly, is going to be kind of overwhelming. So let's stop it here, and let's kind of think about where you're at. So when we talked about, does everybody in here feel like from the very beginning, you have a clear understanding of why, first of all, you want what you want through that quad exercise? You have a better understanding of what's driving you emotionally, what feelings you need to hit to feel like you're fulfilled. Do you guys have that nailed? Feel good about it? Okay, well, that 4-quadrant thing we did, your circles. Keep that, keep referencing it. Do you feel like you have a good understanding of what your 5-year number would need to look like to fulfill that life or pay for that life? Yes or no? If not, pull me aside. I can stick around for a little bit. Okay, but hopefully you've got that number. Do you now know from that how many appointments you need to have to hit that number? Did you do the math on that? Was that a scary number or a real number? Did it feel real? Did it feel doable? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wake up. We're almost done. Finish strong. Okay? Do you feel like now the money, you understand a little bit about the money and how it works and appointments and everything leads? Do you understand that? Do you understand how many people you need in your sphere of influence being marketed to if you want your number of deals? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like you know that when you start growing, you're probably going to leverage out with a team? You guys understand that? You understand that you need to know your numbers to build a business? Yes? Do you want to own a business? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, you do, because you want what? What does that give you on the back end? What do you get out of that? Freedom.
All the words you circled.
All the words you circled, whatever it is. Travel, freedom, opportunity, challenge, growth, achievement, success, family time, pursuing passions, ministry, whatever it is. You get all of that by doing these things. So break it back down. Understand all of you are less than 5 years away from living whatever it is you want to live. You will completely reinvent yourself in 5 years or less if you just focus for 5 years. If you will trade that and learn and master these and get in the right relationships that help you focus on that, all of you are that close to almost an unimaginable today life. I mean, 100% for real. I've seen it 100 times, but I've seen it once. So just focus on it. You have questions, let me know. Hopefully you guys got my number off the beginning, and or my email. Send me
Put
a
it back
message
up
and
there
let me
again.
know. Huh?
Put that up there again.
I will. I'll go back.
I can send it to you, Karen.
Okay.
Here.
Here, I'll just take a picture.
There. All right. So call me, email me, text me, whatever. But you guys are all there. It's just a matter of staying clear on why you want it. Do you believe it's possible? And are you going to do the work? That's those three things we talked about. Why do you want it? Do you believe it's possible? And are you willing to do the work? So that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Let me know if you have questions.
Also, you know my friend Kat, I just sent or looked you up on Facebook and you guys are friends.
Which one?
Kat.
Out of like the.
Zaggy?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Thank you. I
yeah.
always say her name wrong.
Yes.
She had to teach me. Yeah. A trick on how to say it. What is the trick?
Thank you, Jeff.
Uh-oh.
I really appreciate it. I know it did.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was hoping I was gonna get done sooner, but.
Thanks for having me.
It's not that bad.
I'm
Girl, they're talking it could go to the 18th to the 21st, double murder trial. These kids are like 18 and 20.
Thanks, on.
My anxiety.
Keep your eye out for one on over your side.
I don't care if you're guilty or not. I
Did you get out of it?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, Jill's daughter-in-law's there.
Yeah.
And Lisa Taylor.
So how'd you get out of it? You just tell me your two issues.
I have a court December 15th.
You have what?
Divorce court. I have divorce court December 15th.
Skip for something.
I know, I'm like something.
That's terrible to say. I'm so sorry. I was